While the 2020 season has come to an end for the majors, that doesn't mean the fun is over. Those in charge have seen fit to fill the off-season with special events for many years now. However, the series organizers have taken upon them an ambitious new endeavor. With the allure of endurance racing on the rise, a six-round championship has been put together to see how our competitors fare as a team. Today, we'll begin to answer that question as we get ready to watch round one of the Majors Team Endurance Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman and Stefan Schlacker. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The first round of the championship is a doozy. Imola is not known for being well suited to multi-class racing, so dropping our drivers here will be throwing them in at the deep end. Let's learn a little bit more about the challenges they'll face in Italy. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds one more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apex not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them? A little bit about Imola, which has seen F1 action once again. But Steph, a hop across the border for you, I guess, for what is something of a legendary track in racing nowadays.
Yeah, most definitely, Joe. And yeah, it is geographically not that close to me, as Imola is quite deep into the midfields of Italy. But most definitely from Italy to Austria, it's not that far. So let's get a little bit of a close look into multi-class racing here at Imola. Obviously, most notably for that Formula 1 rounds it has hosted in the past, it is also one of the many hosts to a 24-hour race, especially a 24-hour series is racing on a yearly basis here. Though we have to say there's only a few passing zones around here, obviously Tamburello, Tulsa, Variante Alta, and also Rivazza. But along with that, these passing zones are also the big danger zones, especially Rivazza. If you don't set up that pass perfectly, you're gonna be in trouble because you're gonna overshoot that first apex because of that steep downhill you have to break into. So these guys really have to be careful, especially out of a Variante Alta in that LMP2. If you hop too much over the curbs and drop your car fully on that artificial turf, that on throttle oversteer can really hurt you, and it can also send you spinning around into traffic, which you really don't want to. So guys, it might be a really mixed bag as what we can expect for the next 3 hours here.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty eager to see exactly how this is going to play out, because this will be a first, not just in the new series, but this combination of cars we've never seen on GSRC. Speaking of which, Sam, I think you've got the details for today's race.
Yeah, well, you see that combination of cars, as you were mentioning about on our second line here, the LMP2 GTE cars and GT4 cars. So that's exciting. The top row there is also exciting. The fact that it's round number 1 of 5. A little bit of a fun winter series coming up here. But of course, all series are fun in concept. Once the drivers get out there, I'm sure they'll forget that it's a fun little winter series and they'll be just as competitive as ever. It's a 3 hour race. So, if you think of Grand Prix racing, you'd call this an endurance race. But when you're talking about endurance cars, this is actually a bit of a sprint race, so I think we'll see the drivers eager to make moves right from the get go, which could be interesting here considering the Tamburello chicane can pose difficulty when we have a full field of cars heading down into it. Open car setups, so the teams have been allowed to play around with their setups during the practice session that just concluded. Well, actually, it concluded over half an hour ago. It's a qualifying session going on right now, but most of the teams have already completed their qualifying laps. That's why you don't see a whole lot of action out on the circuit. And caution flags are on. Now, the way they're doing that is a bit interesting. It's not necessarily going to fly each time a big wreck happens on the circuit, but each time that the field accumulates a total amount of incident points. Now, we don't know what that number is, but in theory, say it's 50. That means once 50 drivers have put a wheel off, and they accumulate 1 incident point, or if there's 25 spins or 12 or 13 crashes, however you want to do the math there, 50 points will be accumulated throughout the whole field and a caution will fly. Once that full course yellow is concluded, the counter resets to 0. And when they accumulate 50 incident points again, another caution will fly. So that's a very interesting way of doing it, Joe. And the thing I love about it is there's no penalty, to my knowledge, for drivers who accumulate incident points. So if you're one of those teams that wants to see a full course yellow, just keep dipping the wheel off here and there. Maybe.
Well, okay, to be fair, they have live stewards. So I think they're going to be watching. If they see anybody, intentionally trying to bring out a caution, I suspect that they might park them for a bit because they're not looking for cautions to happen. But you're right, there is no incident limit out here. There's also no fast repair for the drivers to try and get the cars healed up instantly and get the car back out there. But those full course cautions, Steph, that's going to be an interesting dynamic because, again, they cannot predict them. Like, say normally if like they were looking for a big wreck that, maybe you can cover it off and try and get into pit lane in time. It's going to be a real crapshoot. You just don't know when it's going to come out.
Yeah, basically, obviously, every team has their plan A, which they are most definitely gonna try to stick to as long as possible, even if that is by the offset of 5 or 6 minutes. Either way, they will still probably try to stick to that. But you have to be prepared for those crapshoots that you have those cautions every 10 minutes or every 40 minutes. You have to be prepared to actually make those calls, those crucial calls at the times they need to be done, because those can really decide if you win the race or if it just plays in fourth.
The other thing too, Sam, is that this series, though it's done a few team races in the past, they usually haven't been championship races. The lone one that comes to mind is the 24 Hours of Le Mans that they did, which did actually have a team element to it. But this is just its own lone championship. And usually when we talk about teams here on the channel, Sam, it's in regards to sharing setups and things like that. I have a feeling this is going to be a completely new challenge for everybody to try and adjust to.
Yeah, it's not too difficult to pick up on iRacing, how you do driver changes and all that. But yeah, there might be some teams who, for the first time, they're having to face the challenge of, oh, how do we build a setup that is comfortable for all of our drivers? Now, here on our qualifying timing and scoring on the left side of your screen, you're seeing the driver names being listed for all of the drivers who have turned the time during qualifying. The numbers in green, those are our GT4 cars. Numbers coming up in red that are cycling through in just a few moments. Those are going to be our LMP2 cars. And then our next page of time and scoring coming up here. I think the numbers were blue a moment ago, or were they?
Yes, in blue.
There we are, they're blue. Those are our GTE cars, and a massive GTE field, also a massive LMP2 field. Things a little smaller on the GT4 field. I guess the fear of getting in the way of the LMP2 cars and the GT4 cars scared some drivers out of that, but hopefully we'll still have some good competition out there.
And for those wondering how they determine who goes into what class here, they actually have sort of like what you see in modern endurance racing, where there are license levels. They're sorted into groups. I believe it's pretty similarly platinum, gold, bronze, silver, and such and whatnot. Obviously, the GT4s are the AM drivers. That is all sort of the drivers that don't have as high of a rating, so that they don't have as difficult of a car to try and set up and get used to. We're seeing Aaron Stanley out there right now, which is the GTE. This is considered a pro-am, so they have a bit of each that are allowed to race in this. And then, of course, the LMP2s are pro, and they are able to get the most out of these things. These are the drivers that are the highest rated. Aaron Stanley's out there, just started a flying lap. It'll be his final lap that he'll be able to take, as this Texans Fitzy Motorsports team has already taken 2 laps out there, and that last one counted as their third. This is one last go at trying to get themselves onto the front 2 rows, because Steph, right now, they're just outside of it.
Yeah, and honestly, I like that strategy from them. They did put out their 2 fast laps. They kept 1 fast lap to see how are the others gonna round out. Where are we gonna be placed? Do we still need that 1 lap? Do we think we still have more in the tank? And well, it's 8/10 that they're away from first place. I don't think they're gonna get there, but it's only 6/10 up to second, and only 3/10 to get into that second row in third place. So Aaron Stanley, he has a little bit of a chop ahead of him, but I think he's the man to do it.
So he comes around, looked a little bit off down through Aquamina Raleigh, coming up to Alton now in his BMW. Taking a lot of the first curb, fair bit of the second one. He goes way wide, and unfortunately, I think that might discount the lap for him. You can get a little bit out there. I'm not exactly sure where the limit has been set here. As he comes around Ravazza, he hasn't slowed down, so he's at least going to try and finish it, regardless of that status. Taking it all the way to the edge and onto the AstroTurf off of Ravazza. Let's see if it gives him a time and improves on that 5th place. It does give him a time, but it is not quicker. He is less than a 10th off of his quickest time in qualifying. Now, with only a minute left, that actually will be the last of the cars that is able to get a time in. That means our field is set. Why don't we go through our starting order here for round 1 of the MTEC series. VRS Satellite Racing is going to be on the pole today, with Evolve SimSport Diamond starting in 2nd. Switch at Topaz will be starting P3, with Kinetic Racing MTEC number 63 starting 4th. You've got Rival Autosport in the 5th position, followed by Devotion Sim Racing Purple in P6. Texans Fitzy Motorsports Ares is going to be starting 7th, followed by Sudiera Monza in 8th. Kind of ironic here in Imola, which is the other Italian track here on iRacing. Texans Fitzy Motorsports Athena starts in P9. You've got Evolve Motorsports Obsidian rounding out your top 10. On the next page, it is Total Downforce Racing starting the inside of the 6th row. Forge Endurance 1 starts in 12th. Kinetic Racing MTEC 66 starts 13th. Texans Fitzy Motorsports FA will be starting in 14th, and then Speed Asylum Bombshell Racing Team will be 15th. Kinetic Racing MTEC 69, only 16th for them, well down the order. Grizzly Motorsports the same, expect a little bit better of them typically, starting 17th, but it is a long race. XMB Race Design is going to start 18th. And Steph, what do we have for our GTE class?
Well, it is a second front row for Evolve SimSports SPB here in the GTEs. They have their sister car, LMP2 car, in second, but they managed to put it in first here in the GTEs. Friction Racing will be lining just alongside them in 20th. SimTV Bombshell Racing will be lining up in 21st overall, with Kinetic Racing MTEC the 166 in 4th place, actually running with the 54, so very interesting naming there, with the Texense Fitzy Motorsport Hades in 23rd overall, that is 5th in class. Mach 1 Esports in 24th overall, with the Mist Apex F1 podcast team Beam 25th, the 188 of Carver Dynamics Bombshell Racing in 26th, with another Evolve Sim Sports car that Titanium won this time around, 52, will be lining up in 27th, with Grizzly Motorsports by TFR Labs in 28th, SS Racing, the 28, only missing out on their best starting position they can have, as they're in 29th. Forge Endurance 030th, with Middle Finger Racing in 31st, Kinetic Racing MTEC 167 on the next page is in 32nd, with Forge Endurance 404 in 33rd, with the 404 of Speedworks Racing in 34th, the number 5 of Sector 5 MTEC Wild Blue Yonder in 35th overall, with the Apex Racing Group Atlantis, Mist Apex F1 podcast team Scuderia, with Black Tree Race Crew, Sector 5 Black Ball Racing, and Udox Frank rounding out the top 40 of your grid here today. And then there's just 3 more GTEs lining up, with Hard Promises Racing, Elite West USA, and Epic Sim Racing in those last 3 positions.
For Stefan's sake, if I ever make a GTE team, I'm going to give it a short team name. Over in before we have the CMS Racing team cars 1 and 2. Mist Apex F1 is starting 3rd ahead of Grid Life iRacers Bombshell Racing. The Mist Apex cars start 5th and 6th in class ahead of Sector 8, Mad Sim Racing, and Forge Endurance. A 51 car field getting ready, 52 car field getting ready to go green. Here we go, Joe.
Indeed, great timing, because there they come onto the front stretch. And the green flag is out. Brandon Gracia starts the VRS Satellite Racing team, gets a good jump over second place Driscoll and Evolve car. And it looks like Philip Broxes is going to try and challenge him down into Tamburello. Are we going to be clean into this tight chicane? So far, so good, as the middle of the pack now tackles it. Let's go to Steph for the GTE start.
Yeah, and the Evolve Sim Sports SPV car, they already got jumped in the start swing phase here, but they were able to retake the lead here into Tamburello, so no harm done to them, as Friction Racing just about gets here in 2nd place. Eric Mickett in 3rd place still, with Scott Corbin of Kinetic Racing MTEC, the 166 in 4th place. Sam, how it's looking in the GT4 class?
Rather calm, Stefan. They were pretty much already single file by the time they got to the main straight. Obviously, the green flag had been out for a while then, so Christopher Schmeller has pulled away from the rest of the field, got a few car lengths lead in the number 179 BMW.
Already our LMP2s are getting through the Alta chicane, so it's not going to be long before they start lapping those GT4 cars. You can see you've got Brandon still up in the front of the number 67 machine, but Philip in the 19 Switch It Topaz team has claimed that 2nd spot over Driscoll's Evolve Motorsports Diamond car. As they come around off of the final turn, it's a bad exit for our leader. Could we have a change for the lead early? Philip starting to gain as we had an off in the back. Looks like Justin Morton may have slipped off into Rivazza. We'll get to that in a second. And easily slipstreaming by early in a 3-hour race. We're already seeing P1 change hands.
Oh, and in behind, Rival Autosports just missed a braking point into Tamburello, and they caused a little bit of a havoc there in the back. As you see there in the front of the GTE pack, that is the Justin Morton Total Downforce racing car. As there's a bit of a side-by-side going into Villeneuve in P2s.
Slight bit of contact, I think, between Joey Haynes and Mark Stevenson, but they managed to come out the other side. Certainly caused chaos for the time being amongst this mid-pack group, which starts up in 6th. It's the Suria Monza team leading, with Henrique up at the front of them. Almost 8 cars all the way back down to Mizomo there in the number 77. Can't get too frantic here at the start of this race. There's still plenty to go and plenty of opportunity. Going to be a change of hands between Rival Autosport and Kinetic Racing 66. Car number 66 moves himself up into P8. In fact, a slow exit from Norton. Rival Autosport finds himself with Jack Stiles all over the back of him. Has to get out of it. He's now under attack. It's a chain reaction. Joey Haynes up to the inside. Can't get the pass done, though. And we got a car off just ahead of them.
Front.
Oh, no.
What's that?
That is the number 63 of Gabriel Roos, unfortunately, who got turned around and was just broadside across the track. We're going to look at the replay here. Steph, what do you see?
Oh, it's a very long evolving wreck, actually. Gabriel Roos spins it all on himself. They're over the curbs on the outside and inside, and he just waits and gets going in a little bit of an awkward position, and then no space for the guys in behind. Right into the car of Gabriel Roos. All three cars actually with quite some extensive damage to their bodyworks, so wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see some cars hit the pit box here in the next 2 or 3 laps because of that.
Unfortunate there at the start for such a long race to have to endure that damage. Going to our leaders in the GTE class, Waring, who was in the hunt for the championship in the main majors series, is trying to lead the way, but Mogren in the number 169 is close behind. They've got a bit of a gap, so they can breathe easy knowing it's only 2. Eric Mick back there in this MTV bombshell car has a distance of almost 2 seconds already. See the green and white machine, that is Waring. You're looking at in the Ferrari, followed by the black and orange Ferrari, Friction Racing, braking hard up into the Alta chicane. Oh, and he has a bit of a slide coming out, but we're going to jump away to the GT4s, where the top, the number 179 car and the CMSRacing.com Team 2, pulling a handy gap back to Missed Apex F1. CMS Racing 1 has Brett Stevens hot on his heels, trying to see if he can get back to that second spot.
Yeah, there was a change for second in GT4 not too long ago, but as you mentioned, a pretty comfortable lead for the number 179 car at the moment. When we cut to the GTEs there a moment ago, Joe, our viewers may have noticed one of the cars going off in the back of a picture in Villeneuve. That was the Mach 1 Esports Porsche, being driven by Lee Vandenberg, the number 752 car. He lost about 5 positions with a mistake in Villeneuve last lap.
You see him on screen now. But we're heading up to our leaders in the LMP2, because now is where it gets interesting. There you see the 51, the Switch It team up at the front. They are getting into the the GT4 traffic, rather, which is going to be significantly off the pace from our leaders.
And yeah, we're speaking actually about 20 or so seconds that the speed difference is between the P2s and the GT4s.
Catch them at a good time here up the main straight. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, and I'd like to make a note that, remember, these are AM drivers here in the GT4s. They might not necessarily have the experience that the pro drivers do of dealing with multi-class traffic, and that might make it even more difficult than usual for these LMP2 drivers to navigate their way around. The LMP2 drivers, I'm sure, are on top of the steering wheel right now, just making sure, checking twice before they make a move, that the driver in front knows that they're there and knows what they're doing.
It's worked out well for the Topaz team, who is up by 3 seconds now. Back to that GTE lead. Here we can see Waring ahead by about 0.6 of a second over Friction Racing's number 169 machine, down and through Tamburello, continuing to pull away from Eric Mickey, who just doesn't seem to quite have the pace. Behind them, we got a nice fight between Stanley in the 486 and Scott Corbin in the 54. In fact, it's a 3-way battle. Kurt Crum in this as well.
Quite a...
Out of Villeneuve, yeah, and Crum maybe thinking about something in Atosa. Doesn't look like he's able to stick his nose in, though, Sam.
Yeah, quite a few good battles going out here on track now, and it's only going to ebb and flow more as lap traffic. I mean, it's only an issue for the leaders right now, but within a few moments, it'll be an issue for everyone on the course. Also, a good battle in the LMP2 class for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Those three cars right on top of each other going down the front straight.
Fortunately, there's only so many ways that you can point your eyes through here. You can see as they come out of Aqua Minerale, Crum, who's close, still can't do much on the 54 of Scott Corbin. It does look like they are catching up to some of the GT4 traffic as well. That's got to be frustrating, Sam, knowing that you not only have to look ahead, but keep your eyes in the mirrors as well for this middle class.
Yeah, that's why I don't think I've ever done a middle class. Sorry, we've got a car off at Tamperillo. It's one of the lead-in GT4 cars. It's Brett Stevens in the number 178 CMS Racing team. Well, he had been second in class a few moments ago. Now he's gone back even further.
Now, what's interesting, Ian Erasmus was also off, but in a completely separate incident in the same corner nearly at the same time. Stevens unfortunately smacked the barrier. There you see both of them off track, and Stevens making the contact. He returns. I'm not sure if he's up to pace, though, because the car does look a little slow.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at the weather to see if that could have contributed to that, but, you know, a gust of wind or something, but I don't really think so, Stephen. These look like good conditions to race GT cars.
It actually was a tap from behind from the LMP2 of Mr. Norton, who is fighting for that 7th place, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, he had a little bit of help to get into that barrier.
Had a change for P3 and LMP2's Garcia continuing to bleed spots, this time to Brissett, the number 42, and Devotion Sim Racing's purple car managing to get by. And look how low slung these things are compared to the M8, which is already known as a rather large vehicle. But man, it's like when they're behind that GTE car, you can't even see them in some cases.
Yeah, it is actually a little bit hard in these GTEs to see that LMP2. And I can tell you, this BMW M8, it is quite the car, even in real life, because I have today overtaken one on the Autobahn as I was driving home. And even in real life, when driving on the Autobahn, these cars are still massive.
A little bit of a bad exit coming off of Alta for the number 67. That'll cost him time. Not sure what's going on with that car. Oh, and we've got a wreck. It is the number 39 of Harold Stadler with Ragsdale in the 115. This is interclass incident, unfortunately, out of Alta. We're going to see if we can get a replay here.
And
the
thing is, sadly, the GTE, living up to its name, a missed Apex F1 podcast team Beamer, missed the second Apex, and yeah, wasn't able to avoid that P2.
39 got it going once again, but he's down in 9th place. At Statler in the car currently. Team won't be too happy about that. Going back up to 3rd place, Garcia has regained the grounds. And Steph, I imagine that's going to be a big talking point, because I know that's always my worst fear whenever I do a team race is don't damage the car. Don't do anything to hurt the car on your stints.
Yeah, that is simply multi-class racing and endurance racing in a nutshell. You're not allowed to damage your car because you're gonna carry that for so many hours. So Garcia, right now, we have to mention these teams, they do not have to start their qualifying driver. Brent Garcia was not the qualifying driver. This car got qualified by Dallas Pataska. So right now it seems like they have the slow driver in, and Pataska gonna take over at one point.
The anchor method, I suppose. Put the fast guy in last as we ride on board now with 2nd place Mogren. Still chasing down Andrew Waring. In front of them, that is our leader actually in the GT4. So this is a slower class. They're going to easily be able to get by, hopefully easily. A little bit offline, unfortunately, from Mogren. That'll slow him up, but not too drastically.
And there's been a change for third in GTE. Well, we've been watching this. The number 486 has moved on by the 86. Aaron Stanley making up a position there.
Indeed. So up the way, it's 7 seconds for him to try and close in on those top two. Mickey, another one that does not seem to have the pace that his teammate does, because it was Walker in that car that set the time down. We've already got someone in pit lane. Mark Stevens in the number 53 has himself already taking service, and this is far too early, I would think.
Yeah, most definitely probably some incident that happened there with that car. So we're once again looking at the battle for P number 3. Oh, Brissett sending Dale Green wide, and that is actually a loss of position there for Green. So Homan, the Udox Frank Corvette, got past him there. So a little bit of unfortunate multi-class situation there for Green.
On screen, though, looks like we've got trying to figure out which driver this is who's got a lot of traffic. This is Brissett. Oh, and a spin in front of him. That is Colin Ward facing the wrong way. How in the world did he thread that needle? There was a traffic jam behind him, and somehow nobody hit that car. You can see the mess up the main straight as everybody's having to keep in mind the speeds of all the other cars and try to position themselves safely as they come down into Tamburello, being led by Gracia, who made his way through. They've got Valverde and Enrique as well, still having to try and get by a lot of this traffic, but we've jumped back up to our leader in the GTE. This is Waring. Got himself a little bit more room. Remember how close not too long ago we saw Mogren back there. Car behind, that is lap traffic. Glenn Papp for Grizzly Motorsports TFR Labs.
Despite
not even 15 minutes into this race, yeah, and a lot of action here, Sam.
Yeah, but despite all the drama, I think the only car we've really had to have massive issues is a 55 Ford Endurance GT4 2 car, is showing 6 laps down. You can follow all the timing and scoring at gsrc.tv. There was a bit of confusion on my end as to whether we were going to have 51 or 52 starters. It was just 51. The number 025 Epic Sim Racing GTE car did not take the green.
It looks like Buchanan has managed to get himself and the Grid Life Bombshell car up into second. You know, we talked about the missed Apex team. Well, one of their other cars, the 808, now demoted down to third and actually has dropped pretty far back in short time.
Yeah, Ian Erasmus, he actually lost that position and all that time because he had also a very bad lap traffic encounter through Aqua Minerale. He also was one of the car that got shoved to the runoff area on the outside and thus lost all that position to Buchanan. As once again, a little bit of a traffic jam going down into Villeneuve.
And with all of that, we're going to take a little breather here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with more racing action for round 1 and the Majors Team Endurance Challenge. Welcome back to Imola. Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari kicking off the Majors Team Endurance Challenge. Currently, our leader in the LMP2s is Philip Broxes and the Switch It Topaz team. Down the line, you've got Warren leading the GTEs for Evolve SimSport and Chemler leading for the CMSRacing.com Team 2 GT4s. As he weaves his way through the traffic. So far, so good. I have to admit, Steph, that I'm impressed with the way the drivers have been dealing with so many variables out there.
Yeah, it is really impressive, especially the P2s and GTEs both catching at the same time the GT4s. We did see a little bit of a mess with a few spinners in that kerfuffle, but in all reality, it was super clean from everybody involved.
The battle for fourth place, that is Kurt Crum and the leading Corvette that we're watching, being followed by Eric Mickey as they come down into Tamburello, just coming up into some of that GT4 traffic. This is Critchley in the midst of Apex 714. Ooh, and that got really tight. That's going to slow up Crum by quite a bit, but it also does the same to Mickey. The SimTV Bombshell team, unfortunately, going to have to back out of that one when an opportunity almost showed itself. Let's come through Tosa now. Eric lost a lot of time from there, also having to let through Henrique, who's fifth in the LMP2s. Behind Eric, the S's racing team, about 1.3 seconds back, so he's got a buffer. He can stay safe for this time. Waiting for him to approach, hopefully not approaching though, hopefully being able to make up the gap to those in front of him. We could get it up to the LMP2s because Valverde is trying to chase down Henrique. So this is the group that just made it through those GTE cars. And Steph, Henrique, looking like he's going to get a little bit of pressure here not to get too caught up in this traffic.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a give and take between those two, but in general, Valverde seems to be the fast one of those competitors here for that fifth place. So should be interesting, especially with the draft now coming in that LMP2 class here down the front stretch into Tamburello. We might see something happening for Valverde. Is he going to go? Yes, he's going to leave the door open here. Valverde goes to the inside for the first apex of Tamburello. Makes it stick. Great pass execution there by Valverde in the 66.
No time wasted there for the Kinetic Racing team, who have since shown themselves to be the one to beat for these LMP2 cars. We're going back to the GTEs, and that battle that we were watching has now closed back in once again. Swings and roundabouts with the traffic. It giveth and it taketh. Mostly white car that you see in the front, that is Crum. Eric in the number 86 in the mostly blue Corvette. And that's something we haven't touched on yet, Sam, is that there's different makes of cars within two of these classes, the GTEs and the GT4s, which each have their own strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, and I've been watching the GT4s in the early laps here, and the BMW has been in control of that field throughout most of the race so far, well, throughout the whole race so far. But the Porsche, the number 286 Porsche of Zachary Buchanan, has worked his way up into second in class, and I think he's keeping the number 179 honest. They're not battling on track right now. You can see time in the score in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. The gap between them is 5 seconds. But for you Porsche fans in the GT4 class, don't worry. Even though the CMSRacing.com Team 2 car, the number 179, currently being driven by Schmler, is leading the race, the number 286 is definitely not out of this.
There's Christopher leading the way. Actually, that's the most empty I think we've ever seen the track for any of the cars. There's so many out there taking up space right now. As we jump back to the Porsche of Buchanan now. And the 286 still running along in second position. Let's head over to Aiden Pike in the number 72. This is the Speed Asylum team racing for 9th in the LMP2s. In fact, he's got a very good run on Statler as they climb the hill up to Piratella. He's going to have the inside, and they're going to go wheel to wheel as they come down to Aqua Minerale. Somebody's going to have to give way into this corner, and it's going to be Statler, unfortunately. So Pike now up 1 spot.
Yeah, extremely great pass there by Pike, setting it up through Piratella into Aqua Minerale. You don't see that very often, but Pike most definitely made it work. Overshoots here Variante Alta. That might give something back to Stadler. Remember, he was that car in Rivazzo rather, that did spin ahead of traffic. And here he goes to the inside of Pike. Only looks, just maybe. So he's gonna stay behind. Probably gonna make something happen, or try at least, into Tamburello.
Up onto the main straight once again as we watch this GTE fight. Now we switch back to the LMP2s once again and through the Tamburello and Villeneuve chicane.
Yeah, things I've been watching this pack work our way through Tamburello, Joe, and we... Oh, sorry, we got trouble here.
Actually, it's a pit lane entry there for Jeff Schmeier of the XMP race design number 30 LMP2 Dallara. 26 minutes into the race, a little bit early, but it is not uncommon to do a little bit of a short stint in the LMP2 because these cars anyway can only go 35 minutes on a full tank.
I suspect this is a scheduled stop since we are now 35, well, actually 25 minutes in. So maybe he is working a little bit backwards there. We switch over. Looks like we're just having a few technical problems. Apologies. It's currently being led by the number 19 of Switch It Topaz, with the GTEs being led by Andrew Warren. He's got about a 4-second gap now over Mogren. And we were talking about Christopher Schmeller earlier in the 179, leading the way by a good 8 seconds now. And we've got a battle, I understand, in P5 in the GTEs.
It still is our dynamic GTE duo, Joe, between Kurt Krum and Eric Mickey of the 2 white and blue Corvettes, fighting away for that 5th place that we have been watching oh so long already. And yeah, it's really interesting how these 2 cars find together and drift apart again. It's always traffic that kinda makes a little bit of a mess of the plans that Eric Mickey has for that 5th place.
Well, it's got to be encouraging that he's at least keeping up with them, knowing that he's not falling away consistently. They're coming up on Sam Harper in the GT4s. This could be an opportunity, considering they're coming up to one of the more technical portions on the track. He's going to be able to get by and critically put that GT4 car between himself and his rival. He swings way wide, though. We haven't seen the caution yet. We've seen a lot of drivers have to use that runoff. That's going to rack the incident points up pretty quickly if we keep getting those who have to take to the out of boundaries portions just to try and get through cleanly. So let's get back in on our leader here. What if we could do an onboard with Christopher and watch what it's like from the perspective of this BMW, the M4. So we ride with him now. Does he have somebody coming up in that mirror? Looks like no LMP is coming up now, so this is probably a brief respite for that 179.
Yeah, and remember, Christian's lead was down to 5 seconds a few laps ago, and now he's extended it back up to 9. I think the fact that both times we've checked in on him last, he hasn't had any traffic to deal with, But you can see just how fast the GTE car is running away from him. Granted, that GTE car that we saw pass him is our third place car. Aaron Stanley driving the TechSense Fitzy Motorsport Haders number 486 machine and has completely checked out. But of course, Christian's just got to brush that off because he's leading GT4. He's leading it quite comfortably. And right now things are going well. But unfortunately, 2.5 hours still to go.
Meanwhile, in 5th place in the LMP2s, Valverde leads Enrique, leads Styles. It is 3 of them all close together. They're going to come up on some traffic themselves, and I'm curious to see if it's going to cause a big disruption, because it's one thing when you've got 2 cars fighting here, Steph, but when you put 3 together, trying to keep track of both of your rivals has got to be extra difficult.
Yeah, as you said, in a race like this, especially with GT4 cars, which LMP2 drivers, quite frankly, aren't equipped to deal with. They are not trained to deal with them either, so it is a little bit of a hassle already to try to navigate them. But then you also have to remember that you not only have Jason and Rick behind you, but also Jack Styles. So you have to work around these cars, including GTs. You might even have to go 3 wide at places where it's not suited to go 3 wide here at Imola, and have to worry that maybe one of your competitors from behind has a better run than you do.
Another car in the pits, and it's one of our front runners in the GTEs. Now, this is very, very early, Sam. I did not expect the number 169 to come in only a half an hour into this race. This is Mogren, who is running in 2nd place for a long time. Sam, have you seen him come into any sort of contact or anything?
No, but that would be the best thing to explain it, wouldn't it? Come in maybe because he had lost a lot of ground to Andrew Warren. Maybe Stefan saw something.
Yes, I just found the victim, or the victor rather. It is Christopher Norton once again through Aqua Minerale. It was given a very big netcode between those two, but Marco Mogren, he sustained a lot of rear end damage. Then he also got collected by GT4 on the runoff area right there. And to make it all worse, he had so much damage that he was actually spinning out through Rivazza. So that is a forced repair stop for Friction Racing.
Watch the switch it, number 19. I saw how slowly he had to pick his way through in the Tosa hairpin, and then just send it right there past Erasmus, one of our GT4s, the 808. Made it clean, though. I think they're starting to get the handle on exactly the pacing and timing that they can use here. Now, Philip has pulled a gap of about 4 seconds over Driscoll, who continues to chase in number 51. So he's got a little bit of a gap. Meanwhile, Steph, I know you've been watching P10. You mentioned a good 3-way battle there.
It has developed into a 4-way battle, actually, as Hart Stadler. He is that 10th place car. He completely fell off Aiden Pike, who he was battling earlier for that 9th place. But since Pike got past Stadler, he just hasn't been the same. Really dropped off in pace, and that allowed Christopher Norton, Austin SPD, and Justin Morton of the Total Downforce Racing 111 car to catch him for that 10th place. And all of a sudden, we have a 4-way battle for that 10th place on our hands.
A little bit caught off guard because Espedy went deep into Aqua Minerale. This is giving Justin Morton a bit of hope that he can maybe get himself up in 12th. Remember, this car slightly out of pace because he had that early incident that took him off track. He's trying to make up some of these spots that he lost. Justin, known as a good all-rounder here on iRacing, tends to also compete, interestingly enough, on a series later tonight, the Bootleg Racing League, and the ARCA cars, the Grand National Series that they run there. So quite a leap going from LMP2 cars over to short track racing.
I think a Bootleg Racing League is a good league to practice for the series. You might have to do some off-road running in the grass and the dirt.
True. As he continues to try and hound on Espedy here. Norton and Stadler looking very close there. You can see at the front of this group. And Norton took a little bit of a peek into Tosa. Oh, but wheel spin coming off the corner for Stadler is going to deny him a good run from the corner. Norton also failing to get the exit that he required, and now here comes more traffic. That's Stevens in front of them in the 178.
Oh no.
Split him.
My point exactly.
And Norton, oh, that was a touch there on the back of Stadler. That gives actually a little bit of a boost to Stadler, and now Norton has to defend here a little bit into Variante Alta from SPD, and that car on the outside, Gregory Hector, really a little bit squeezed there on the outside, on the second apex, and look at the gap they already
We have another car coming in the pits, Lyndon Swaby in the number 167 Kinetic Racing machine. He has a lot of front end damage, and you won't see him now if we jump there because I think they just had the driver change. Yeah, Jonathan Diggs got in the car. You can't really see it from this angle. It's on the front right of a car. It's quite badly beat up.
Oh yeah, there we got the angle, and that Corvette looking pretty second hand in the GTE class. He's down to 19th and continuing to drop as his fellow competitors stream on by, sadly. So Kinetic Racing Team 167 has a hard uphill climb. Pegleg gonna at least hand the car over for the time being.
Fifth place, we've got well, here we are looking at Christian, but I'm looking at fifth place in LMP2, so it's been a change for position. Jason Henrique used the lap traffic to get the number 31 Scuderia Monza machine up into fifth place, but it doesn't look like the Kinetic Racing 66 machine is happy there in sixth. He was definitely putting the pressure on, trying to get his top 5 position back.
Onto the back of him as they plunge down the hill into Ravazza. We saw this in real world racing here recently. So important to get the run off the corner, up the front stretch. Valverde looks decent, but he's not going to have to overtake because Henrique is into the pits. And we are 35 minutes in. I suspect we're going to see a very busy pit lane for LMP2 cars shortly.
Yeah, next 1 to 2 laps is the window here for the GTEs, as we actually do have still that very good battle for 10th place in the LMP2's Total Downforce Racing. And now we're jumping back to, I think that is 29th overall. Middle Finger Racing versus Black Tree Race Crew, and they have been fighting for the past 2-3 laps quite extensively.
Yeah, I think these drivers on this part of a circuit might need to use their middle fingers a little bit because there's a lot of traffic right here in Villeneuve right now.
Is the Porsche of Silbernagel, who's giving chase.
Oh!
Stevens.
Jump back to Christopher Norton. He's just behind this. We might want to show a replay on this. He had a heck of a tank slapper coming out of Villeneuve, but kept it on the track. Christopher Norton in the number 22 Rival Autosport LMP2. We won't get a replay of it, but I just want to give him a shout out. He kept it on the circuit, and more action here.
Yeah, this is exactly what we're watching between Norton and Stadler going side by side down into Aquaman-Raleigh. Oh, and they're going to pitch fours. That's going to send Stadler off. He returns a little bit more of a touch to Norton. They're able to get away with it and keep going, but I don't know how much they could manage to get the cars to come together like that and keep them whole. And our leader in the LMP2s has just pitted. The number 19 is down the lane. That's actually going to hand the lead over to Driscoll. The 51 is up front now.
The new pit siren on iRacing makes it a lot easier for us to tell when cars are coming in. The pit siren going off now for Aidan Pike in the number 72 LMP2 machine, and going off again. Lots of cars heading down pit road. Lots of LMP2 cars heading down pit road.
Stadler and SPD also into pit lane. Those two cars that were in that fight for 10th place, and this might actually be interesting to see what these cars are deciding. Is anybody gonna take some tires? Not expecting to, but wouldn't be surprised if somebody tries something a little bit different if they also change drivers.
The number 75, the Black Tree Race Crew and GTEs, because he's got a little bit of a fight on his hands with Stevens now. And we mentioned this shortly ago before we had to jump away because of the action in the LMP2s. There you can see the Porsche chasing the Corvette. as they let the car of Norton go on by, who is yet to pit. Oh, and a little bit wide for the Corvette. Stevens now finding himself under threat as Thomas looking left and right. He goes to the right side. He's got a little bit of an overlap, but he's early on the brake.
Touch.
Oh, some ghost contact between them is going to shove the Corvette off track. And that'll settle the position, going in favor of Silverdale in the number 75. That puts him up to 11th in class.
And guys, we have right now quite a lot of LMP2s in the pit lane, and I'm actually seeing, I think that is the Evolve SimSport Diamond. Yes, indeed, they have just gone on the checks. So a very interesting strategy from the 51. They are one of the very few cars that is actually taking tires for their second stint. Actually, also behind them, the Global SimRacing Purple, the 42, also on the checks to take 4 new sticker tires.
And I assume it's no tires and fuel at the same time, like they do at Le Mans with these cars?
Yes, it's like all the endurance cars. First fuel and a driver change, and then you have the tires.
The only two that have not stopped in that class are the number 22 Rival Autosport car. That's Christopher Norton, who inherits the lead. And then you've got the 48, who's up to third now. This is Cordell Cologne in the Grizzly Motorsports number 48 car. They see Norton continuing on around the track. Now, the car doesn't look too damaged. Remember, we saw him make a little bit of contact not too long ago.
Yeah, and we've got a car off coming out of Tamburello, the Sector 8, the number 58 machine. BMW is pointing backwards and kind of stuck. Not in a hurry to get back out on the track. Wants to make sure he doesn't get hit by anyone.
And these two cars are actually connected because Cologne was the car that spun the poor BMW around.
In a hurry to get back around to the pits. He's stretching the fuel quite long, up to 40 minutes for our top two who are waiting on, one of which is in. Norton takes it down the lane. Of course, Cologne, we expect to have to come in too. But that'll be something to watch out for strategy-wise, is the two drivers who've managed to stretch it longer. Can their teammates do the same? It's one thing to do it by yourself and take the fuel long, but to be able to have the other driver in the car be able to make similar mileage will be a whole nother task. There we see Chris Aun taking over for Norton.
Last lap, when we were watching this number 22, some of our more observant viewers may have noticed that he passed a car off down into Acqua Minerale, where George Russell been during the Formula One race. That car was the number 167 Kinetic Racing machine that had pitted for damage earlier on. So unfortunately, Jonathan Diggs was struggling a little bit with the damage on that car.
Go to the leaders and the GTEs. Andrew Waring now has 20 seconds over Stanley because of the problems we saw from Marco Mogren. By the way, he's still in pit lane with that car taking repairs. It's been about 3.5 minutes at this point. They still have plenty of chance to get back out and try to make up for this. It is an endurance race, but obviously this scuppers any hopes of trying to get a decent finish for them. Still haven't had a caution yet here today. We're almost an hour in to the first 3 hours of this race. Watch that for the Ferrari lead the way, the number 124 Evolve SimSport SPB. He's going to put a lap on one of his fellow class cars. That is Gregory Hectus, who pulls out of the way in the number 10 as they get the LMP2 of Valverde coming up behind. Now that is the third place LMP2, and the number 66 probably doesn't want to sit around too long here.
Now, oh, we got to spin out the chicane.
That is the number 30. That is Jeff Schmeier, who seems to have lost it in Alta. There you see him getting the car going once again. This was a solo car incident. I think he took too much curb from entry. Yeah, oh, whole lot of curb. Car was flying.
Yeah, nice recovery there. I wanted to ask Stefan because I know Stefan has a lot of experience with GT racing. These we've already seen in the LMP2 class, just in the first round of stops, without any cautions, that strategy could become a factor late in the race. Some teams have done better job at stretching out their tank of fuel than other teams. How much of advantage could that be for them later on in the race, as we've got one car slow on course?
That's Schmeier again. The lead down too quickly. There goes
Oh no. That is actually just the Alara itself. It is a little bit of a bug if you hit a bump wrong while braking, and that is actually a thing. It can blow up the engine like you just saw with Jeff Schmeier. And it also is related to a little bit of radiator damage that you have to pick up first. So wouldn't be surprised if that, I think it was actually Jeff Schmeier who was flying over the curbs at Variante Alta. So wouldn't be surprised if he actually damaged his underfloor right there, and that just caused his car to detonate.
On that, Steph. Meanwhile, wonder if we could jump to 7th in the LMP2 Styles, chasing the number 72 of Darwin Meintz. You'll have to help me on that one, Steph, because I believe that's going to be a Germanic-looking name. Actually, no, he's from the Midwest, so I mean your guess might be as good as mine, unfortunately, on that one. So the Sweet Asylum bombshell car giving chase. And Jack Styles able to make that down through Tamburello, but he's going to get caught up as Jonathan Diggs is right in the way coming out of Villeneuve. Off the corner, that settles down a little bit. Still waiting on a lot of our GTE cars and GT4 cars to come in for pit stops.
Yes, I'll go back to my initial question to Stefan here. What games can you play? What advantages can you play, especially considering the fact that we might have cautions if you are able to stay out an extra lap or two with fuel here?
Well, obviously you're gonna stretch the tank more and more, and depending on what car you drive, like for example the LMP2, it has a much bigger advantage because it is only such a short fuel window you have. In the GTEs with the 55 minutes fuel window that you have, it actually doesn't make too much of a difference, but as always in a race car, every gram you save is a gram you don't have to carry around with you. So every strategy call you can make that actually makes your car lighter for the end of the race is a good strategy call, and it is one that you most definitely have to pursue.
Battle here for 14th in class among the GTEs. Green leads Ward, leads Waring. But Waring actually is not for position. That is our lead car in the GTEs, and he's going to try and put his nose in. As unfortunately, we're going to have to step away from that one, it seems.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me to see Warren up there leading GTEs, given the pace that we've known he has covering other series here on GSRC. I feel bad for whoever Warren's teammates are.
We'll come back in just a moment. We are going to take a short break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel, and we'll bring you more racing action here at Imola. the first hour here for the first round of the Majors Team Endurance Challenge. You're looking at Lee Vandenberg, who just had a spin. It's going to send him down to 8th after losing some time, but it looks like he's able to get the car going. Was up to P6 before this. But we've had a couple more drivers pit from the GTE class. The S's Racing team in the number 28 did come in and back out. They've changed drivers. It is now Justin Garrick who is in. Got a little bit of a fight for the third spot. Podium still up for grabs in our LMP2s. That's being led by Mizomo, the Fitzy Motorsports car, the number 77. Currently trying to run away from Soranzo in number 42, using traffic well as he's gapped himself just since we started looking at this.
And also, I just realized the number 22 Rival Autosports, another LMP2 car in the pit lane with a blown motor. So these guys really need to lay off on the curb usage they have because they are blowing engines left, right, and center.
And you know, that's a good point. There's a couple spots where they have very tall curbs around here, Steph, and there's almost a variety of them because, you know, I would expect that for places like Tamburello where they've got sort of those pills, I guess you could call them, the 3 that are kind of in place. But then is it just as dangerous at places like Alta where they've just kind of got the wide sausage ones?
Actually, the small sausage curbs that are like at Tamburello aren't as bad for the LMP2 car because they're not as high, but if you actually do take those tall curbs at Variante Alto wrong, it's pretty much what you saw in Formula 1. They tried to hop that first curb and that second curb, and if you actually time that wrong and you land with your car with the underfloor on the bump of that curb when you come back down, that really hurts you. And in the LMP2, the way the coolers are situated for water and oil, they're on the opposite sides of the car, that really can hurt your car. And the problem is with the little cooling these cars anyway get for the efficiency they have, these motors just blow straight out the water.
Are watching here and among these cars. That's the Evolve SimSport Diamond car with Michael Broomhead. He's taken over for Steve Driscoll. Now, I believe those were one of the cars, wasn't it, that we saw take tires? Because I'm looking at their pit stop time. It's over a minute. And with them being up in second, third, fourth earlier on, I mean, that's the only explanation I can think that they're this far down the order now. Trying to check in on that and see if that's what has sent them so far backwards.
It's a possibility, but I'm not sure I like that call, Stefan. Taking tires after half an hour, I mean, it's cool track temp out here. Granted, there's a lot of twists and turns that aren't kind to your tires, but if I was in an LMP2 car, I think I would have gave it at least an hour before changing off my first set.
Yeah, it is most definitely a little bit of a strange call. I don't know how the tire wear is at around Imola, but generally the LMP2 doesn't have a bad tire wear. So I honestly, personally would have expected these guys to try to go for a triple stint on the tires. So split the race in half with your tires and thus only have to use 2 sets of tires. But most definitely, they feel that they can't pursue such a strategy, so went for a little bit of a different strategy. And it most definitely does put them a little bit off cycle, but hey, maybe they know something we don't.
And we've got some action here. Trying to figure out who that was slowing lots of. That would be, it looks like Robert Gregoire in the 282. That is the Mad Sim Racing yellow car. I'm trying to check and see what exactly happened to him. Oh, he had contact. He had a little bit of a spin, and Silvernail unfortunately couldn't avoid him, and they made very hard contact to the corner. So I'm kind of surprised that that blue and yellow machine is still running. I would have thought that the way he got hit in the corner, that would have borked the suspension. time. The number 10 car in a little bit of a battle here, or is... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that is actually a battle for position here. Gregory Hectus, the car in front there, by Ferrari, versus Andy Banfield of the Apex Racing Group Atlantis in a 1-1-2 as they just get heavily split here by traffic. And I think that car behind that is actually Aaron Stanley of Extensive Fitzy Motorsports Hottest at BMW just now lapping in the background. That actually, as said, is already a lapping maneuver, as we only see about the top actually top 10 cars inside a lap in the GTs.
With all the action that's been happening out there, I think we've only lost, well, officially one car. Attrition Racing with Marco Mogren has taken it behind the wall and shut the garage door. We have a number of other cars that are taking extensive repairs. We expect Schmeier probably, if he returns, will not be back for more than an hour. And then you've got Chris Aoun in Rival Motorsports, who we also know is probably having to get a new engine plopped into that thing as we continue to watch Hectus try to weave his way through the field. That's Diggs there with him. He's going to be able to get by as they go 3 wide, down with a lapping LMP2.
And it looks like our schedule... Oh, a bit of a lock-up here. And we got one car off.
That's Diggs, actually.
That's... Unfortunately, I'm trying not to put the spotlight on them too much, Joe, but that car's not handling them well. I've seen it off at least 5 times. But it looks like our GTE pit stops have kicked off. A number 112 V Apex Racing Group Atlantis car is in the pits.
Indeed, and actually just finished his stop. There you see him on screen now. This pit lane is deceivingly long too, Sam. We saw that with the with Formula One, where you'd think the pit stalls end and I can go, and here you're going to see he can't. He's got to wait.
I mean, there's lots of different GT and sports car racing here at Imola in real life now. I know Grand Prix fans may have not necessarily seen the circuit for a while, but still a very active circuit. And it's actually kind of nice when the GT races come here that they have that many pit stalls.
And guys, a little bit of a story to cover, that was one rather, in the LMP2s. It's the car we're looking at right now. Michael Broomhead of the Evolved Sim Sports Diamond started in 2nd place. Right now in the running order, only to find just inside the top 10 in 10th place here. Broomhead and his teammate of Steve Driscoll really having a bad day at the office right now.
We were talking about them a little bit earlier, suspecting they may have put tires on the car in the pit stop, because it was a long stop, and he's coming up on a lot of traffic here. Very big mix of cars, different classes that he's going to have to try and sneak through, including a couple LMP2s that are complicating things. Is that a bad position in front of him? No, it is not.
Yep.
It's SPD trying to lap Quinn. Kind of shocked to see Quinn in the Kinetic Racing 63 this far down. He's all the way to 15th. He usually is a high downforce car master, known for his IndyCar prowess.
Yeah, but remember Gabriel Roos, he was that car in the very first incident that this class saw, and this car most definitely did sustain extensive damage to the underfloor, to the back of the car, which they're still carrying around, which means they are very slow on the straight line. We're talking here about 10-15 kilometers an hour just into Tamburello.
And it is just a mess amongst this group of cars trying to have to navigate each other coming off of Tamburello now. Broomhead getting ever closer to SPD. This one is for position.
Now, GTE leader is Indro. Go ahead, but Andrew Warren is coming to the box in the number 124.
Earlier than a lot of others around him, which is odd. thought that they would try to come in a little bit later. That seems to be the call for a lot of the GT cars.
And GTE drivers rejoice. Andrew Warren is out of the car. Now, not saying anything against Dustin Milwain here. He might continue to go out on hot lap, but the fact that there's only, 10 cars left on the lead lap in GTEs, that's, I think some people are relieved to see the fact that Warren has to give the car to someone.
And we've had Espedy let by his teammate in that battle for 9th position. I wonder if that was strategic to create a buffer between himself and Broomhead, who is closing quickly. Did not want to be caught behind Quinn any longer. They're going to get more kinetic cars, but in a different class. This is Ludwig, who is trying to stay out of the way, but at the same time, he's got a slower class in front of him. Oh, and he made contact! Hard contact with Broomhead. You talked about the bad day, Steph, and it's gotten all the worse.
Yeah, and this car is toast now. Michael Broomhead, just a restructure, a nice visit at the concrete power, and it most definitely ordered some new facelifting.
This front straight is not straight, and Broomhead also got very unlucky there. I mean, the wall that he hit ended like 50 feet after where he hit it. You know, had it been a bit shorter, maybe he could have collected that.
And it's all the replay there, so not sure that they'll be able to really be competitive after this. They're going to continue on. Missing the clip, which can be replaced with the suspension. That is probably of the greatest concern. Probably that engine with that good thwack to the side. I'm sure that didn't help that thing perform to its best. And still 2 hours left, though, for this team. Unfortunately, yet more visitors in pit lane for a GTE class. The number 10, who we were watching earlier, the Elite West USA, is in. Let's see if Hectus is going to hand that one over. There you see in the green-white Corvette. No, excuse me, Ferrari, rather.
The 188 car had inherited the GTE lead after Warren came in, but now that's coming into the pits, the Calvaire Dynamics Bombshell Racing machine.
Yep, that was a car that was well up the order for quite some time. Taking his service. There you see Crum. Looks like he's going to stay in the car. Usually if they switch, they'll hop out pretty immediately. This means our lead right now is the Evolve 52. That's Kevin Hill, who has yet to stop in that GTE class. I see Christopher Sherburne in the Sector 5 MTEC Wild Blue Yonder car still running, and the only other car yet to pit in that GTE class is Hard Promises Racing, number 117. There's Hill on screen right now. So climbs up the hill. He's going to be met by Espedy. He was in that little tussle that got ended prematurely by Broomhead finding the wall. Espedy just going to get to the inside nice and easily. Glad to get him some time on the air, leading the way, even if it's just temporarily. Now, back for the number 72 car. Fitzy Motorsports is challenging. That's Statler with Mites. Once again, we were watching them earlier. They're coming down upon some traffic of their own. Jonathan Diggs, who we've seen have problems keeping the car on the road, but they're going to time it pretty well and be able to get around, but it'll give the slipstream to the number 39. Is he going to be able to take it? He's going to look for it, and he'll get the inside. Easily by up the front stretch. Darwin, unfortunately, not the fittest, and his survival will at least continue as he'll be running in 8th. The Speed Asylum Bombshell car has lost a position.
And he's running 8th from 15th, no less. One of the biggest mover in the race. Actually, that title might go to the 66 of Kinetic Racing and the 77 of Texense Fitzy Motorsports Hefner, as they both have gained 11 spots.
I think the lead has been handed back over to the 486 now. Well, actually, that was interesting. So I'm looking at the pit stops. no tires for the 486, which has taken over the lead. But the Evolve Motorsports 124, Mil Wayne, having gotten in that car, did take tires. Remember, they were the ones leading in the green and white Ferrari. There you saw him in the background. There it is. Now on screen, trying to get past the Porsche GT4. A little bit of wheel spin, but he is going to get by cleanly. Tire strategy seems to be something of an odd one, as we've got most drivers going for a certain strategy, but many top runners going for an alternate strategy. Now, I'm not sure why that is, because usually the top of the field, Sam, tends to kind of play it safe and all go for the same as each other.
Yeah, and that could just be a driver saying, hey, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable on new tyres. But I think it is going to be a pay me now, pay me you later kind of deal here. I wouldn't recommend going 3 hours on the same stint of tyres. So, you know, are you going to do it on your first stop or on your second stop?
Exactly. So maybe that'll pay dividends a little bit down the line. That puff of smoke that we saw, that was some of their LMP2s. As that car off, that is Chris Sherburne in the number 5. I'm not sure if he hit anything. I'm checking here to see if he made some sort of contact. And I don't believe so. I think this is his own self-spin. Deep into Ravazza and into the gravel. Car's not going to hold on. Thankfully, nobody around to hit, and he just swings across the course.
And Stefan, I did about 10 laps of practice ahead of this race so that I could sound somewhat intelligent when talking about these cars, and I found that that is the easiest mistake to make around here.
Yeah, and you're gonna see that pretty much in any class and any car here into Ravazza, because as said, it is such a tricky spot. You are braking downhill. Obviously, the heavier the car is, the harder it is going to stop all of that mess. So it is a little bit easier in an LMP2 car, even though you have the added challenge of the higher speed. And I mean, we have even seen it in the Formula 1 race and practices qualifying that we had here. So even the pros do it, so why aren't we allowed to do that?
Our eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed, it seems like we've been getting a fair bit of cloud cover. That's something else that comes into play here in endurance racing on iRacing, is that the weather can certainly change, especially over 3 hours. And that can affect the track temperature, which will affect how the car handles depending on your setup. So we'll keep an eye on that. Hasn't changed too drastically yet. It's only down to 85 degrees Fahrenheit currently on the track surface. And I expect that this really shouldn't change things right now. But as it gets darker out, we could see the track cool. And then as soon as I say that, you see the sun come right back out. If we could jump to 4th in the GTEs. This is car number 28. Garrick with a lot of pressure from behind. James Walker in the Sim TV car, having taken over for Mickey, is got a very eager LMP2 getting involved in the fight. That was Joey Haynes making space, but just barely between himself and the other GT4 car, Patrick Stein. Ooh, and a good run onto the front stretch here, Sam. Looks like Walker might have an opportunity.
Yeah, so, and he's just going to give it to him?
Yeah, decided he didn't want to fight it too hard. So that's going to move Garrick up, Walker up into P4 with that move after the first set of pit stops. Walker, worth noting, is one of the ones that took tires last time through.
You know, it just occurred to me as these guys navigate the GT4 traffic here that our drivers 3rd and 4th in class in GT4 are teammates in 2 different cars. The number 808 here is a Missed Apex F1 podcast team car, BMW. And if we go back to 4th place, 205, it is also a Missed Apex F1 podcast team, Porsche.
And if you would go 2 positions further back, you would have another missed Apex F1 podcast car. That is the 34. So out of the 10 cars we have in that class, it's 3 missed Apex F1 podcast teams.
We haven't shown a lot of our GT4 class because there really haven't been many battles, but this thing is not over. I wonder if we could go to second place, which is the 286. This is Grid Life iRacer's Bombshell with Zach Buchanan. He actually just had some contact with lap traffic trying to get through. And you touched on this, Sam. This is the AM class. These are drivers that are a little less experienced and can cause some miscommunication and whatnot. So he's got to be careful. All the teams have to be careful here when dealing with these faster classes. And yeah, look at how many cars are just trying to sneak on through here. Meanwhile, sounds like we got a battle with the number 10 once again, who we've been watching every once in a while.
Yeah, and this time the number 10 is being chased down by Brian McGreevy of Udok's Frank team, a number 68 Corvette. Purple and silver, very easily spottable in behind the green and white. Gregory Hector's piloted number 10. And these guys have been going off for the past 2-3 laps. They have been separated a little bit by traffic in the last lap, as in behind Kurt Krum misses his braking point into Variante Alta. So once again, Brian McGreevy once again gets very split off by Harald Stadler. Oh, was it a touch? Oh, is that's Jonathan Dix once again, and the day for him just continues to get worse.
Rival mode for that 167 for sure. As you saw in the background, him trying to return to the track. Meanwhile, I'm watching, is Kurt in a battle for position? No, that's a lap car, excuse me. So we'll stay put where we are. That is Kurt Krum that you see on screen. That's going to get to the inside and put another lap on McGreevy. Separating themselves once again, McGreevy for the Udox team.
Oh, we had just a big wreck on Piratella between Anil Singh and I think also a GT4 car, 2 LMPs, make that 3 LMPs. Big wreck up there.
At 282. That's the car 282. Unfortunately, Patrick Stein, it just, this might be a bit of a racing deal. Cologne in the 48, and I believe Gracia, who's one of our front runners in the LMP2s, the 67, also making contact with him into there. We're seeing if we can get the replay, but it looks like we might not be able to have it here. We'll continue to try. And our leader in the meantime in the LMP2s is in. That's the number 19. Switching driver.
As you said, just a little bit of a racing incident. Patrick Stein, he did get held up by the lapping Dan Garber GTE car, and then he had that battle following Gracia versus Colin. Actually, that was also a lapping maneuver, and they just happened to be 3 wide at the worst moment into Pertel. They made contact, which made the 282 spin around, and then in behind Anil Singh, the 115 LMP2. Actually, no, sorry, David Soranzo, the 5th position, number 42 LMP2, just volleyed that BMW around the track.
And Soranzo's trying to get back to the pit, so his front axle is not cooperating whatsoever. The number 42 car has finally made it the pit entry, so kudos to him, but unfortunately that's not coming back out on track in a hurry.
The number 19 is in pit lane. They are doing their first driver swap. Marvin Artman getting in, replacing Phillip in that Switch It Topaz car. And we got a caution. Not sure if this is good or bad for the number 19. They're going to be done with their stop. But are they a lap down or are they on the lead lap? They are on the lead lap right now.
The leader's coming across start-finish line right now, so if he's going by those cars in the pits, that's not good news for everyone.
Yeah, he did get lapped. He did. He just went by and is catching the pace car now. Oh, this is horrible for the number 19 team. Unbelievable.
Well, of course, even though we just had a big wreck, that's not the reason the caution came out, but it can contribute to it. Anytime we have a pile-up like that, that probably added 16 incident points to what we had, and that, caused things to close up a little bit, reach that limit, whatever it was. And we're almost at the halfway point before we got our first caution. So this will be interesting, seeing if we get another caution at all. If the incident count continues at a similar rate to what we've had going on, will this race potentially end under caution?
That is a good question. Always incentive to be in the lead in that case, because obviously in endurance racing, there's no such thing as a green-white checkers. Try not to make your head spin, but another thing in that halfway mark is we're going to continue to get fewer and fewer cars. Remember, we've got a bunch that are down pit lane taking repairs. We don't know how many we'll get back. And as fewer cars stay out, that could mean fewer incidents racking up. So very hard to calculate, very hard to know and predict how the race will continue to evolve, especially for these cautions here today. What a fascinating system they've come up here in the majors.
Now the pace cars picked up our race leader, the number 66 kinetic racing machine, being driven by João Valverde. Now, of course, when the safety car comes out, that gives you the opportunity to take a free stop. You can make a pit stop and not lose a lap and not lose that much track position. Granted, you have a lot of cars go by you. However, is this disadvantage to our race leader? Is João, in a way, kind of forced to stay out here? Because if he pits, that's going to allow a bunch of cars to kind of get waved around.
Well, the other question is, where will he return in the line if someone else does not pit? Because they will not sort the cars according to class on the restart. They will be all mixed up. So where you come out is where you come out. And if there are cars that stay out, he'll basically be stuck in the midst of a bunch of lapped cars and traffic. So, yeah, this is going to be a learning process, I think, for both us and the teams right now. Who is going to dare come in? As we watch from the pit entry, and Valverde motions that he's going to pit. Yes, he's committed. It's a bit of an awkward spot for some of the classes, too. Looks like Mizomo in the number 77. I see Dale Green for the GTE cars is in. Guaracia pits as well.
Top 5 LMP2 all into pit lane. Top 6 as well. Top 7, even top 8. So pretty much every single LMP2 that hasn't stopped up to this point is into pit lane right now.
Top driver to have taken a second stop, which was before the caution, is that number 19 car. Switch it, but he's not. I don't believe he's going to get his lap back, is he?
Yeah, a lot of cars are getting wave rounds, Trevor. A lot of cars are going by the pace car here, and the pace car lights are off. This looks like it's going to be a quick safety car period, so it's not going to allow these drivers a lot of time to take repairs. And let's not also forget that some of these teams and drivers may not necessarily know what the best strategy is in a safety car period. It's not exactly common to have cautions or safety cars, full course yellows on iRacing in road course races. And so I wonder if that's got a few of these drivers and teams scratching their heads. It's really going to be interesting seeing which teams this pays dividends for.
Okay, so the driver that was first stopped for the wave around was Josh Wolf, but he's not on the lead lap. In fact, he's, let's see, he's in the GTE class, is going to lead us away with Liam Quinn behind him. Where is our leader, actually? Jack Stiles is coming out, yeah, at the very end of the train. The Fitzy Motorsports 59 is going to be our leader on the restart, but will be in amongst a ton of traffic.
The first leader in class, or first leader behind the safety car right now, is the 188 of Calvert Dynamics Bombshell Racing. So a little bit interesting that both Joshua Wolf and Liam Quinn didn't get that wave around, because they are lap cars and they are between a safety car and a class leader, which normally the safety car would have picked up.
Sounds like some teams have been given penalties by iRacing for pitting, and I think they're trying to get those black flags cleared. there are some black flags on iRacing that admins cannot always clear. So it will be interesting seeing if we have any drive-throughs being forced to be
Well,
served here on the restart.
they do have double trouble because in the MTEC rules it is specified that black flags will not be cleared.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is just going to send a bunch of them way down the order. I remember that seeing that rule as well, specifically. So,
And it's not it's not exactly like they can hope for another quick caution to help them catch back up, because we know that's not happening. We know there's not going to be another caution for probably another 80 minutes or so.
all right, so they're getting released, and Josh Wolf has control of the field. He's waiting for the green flag, and now he accelerates away. We are green once again here at Imola. Quinn's going to have an easy time getting around him. So where is our leader, Jack Stiles? Ooh, Jack's actually very much in a danger zone. He's slow off the corner, and one of his rivals coming up behind him. That is Benjamin Cox in the number 77. As you can see them now breaking down into Tamburello. This is going to be very, very tight, as there is a ton of traffic in here. Nicely done by everyone involved.
There we go.
Winner. That was Cox. The 77 has lost second place. A little bit of an accident behind them as well, as I saw Jimbo Pfeiffer in the number 5 off in a GTE car. Separate incident. Oh, goodness. This is getting a little crazy here now amongst them. Cox having to take a cross Villeneuve, cutting the course to get the car out of danger.
Yeah, we had a few cars spin, but they were all able to pull away from the scene of the incident.
So as they climb up the hill, man, there is no escaping it. These cautions are certainly not looking desirable based on this first one we're watching. You are hugely in the danger zone if you restart in the mid-pack. I think that's going to change strategy calls significantly next round, or next caution if we do get one again.
And let's not forget that iRacing simulates marbles, so a lot of drivers are having to take off a racing line or even to the gravel there, and that can definitely hurt everyone's tyres.
Was that Stiles that we saw off track there in the 59? We saw an LMP2 drifting it through the gravel. Our leader completes the lap, now finally clear of the traffic with open air in front of him. Behind him, it's a battle for second between the 67 and the 66. Jake Fox and Brandon Gracia, and Brandon's going to take the spot away.
And sure, you saw very much correctly. That was Fitz Stiles who was off track there between the two Rivazzas. And yeah, it is going to be interesting now what happens with all these penalties that they may or may not have gotten. Or maybe that was just an end-of-line penalty or whatever for entering closed pits. Have to see what happens with all the cars.
I heard the siren going off about 4 times there down the front straight. I think a lot of people were serving their penalties here.
Got Hugo Wayne in. Jesse Butler is down the lane. I believe we did have some front runners who received those penalties.
That would be pretty much everybody ahead of the number 19 in the race. So 8th onwards, that should all have received penalties.
Hopefully we'll get some clarification down the line from the stewards on that, if they were able to make some adjustments. Because to the credit of those drivers, they have said that the pits were marked as open when they entered. So I don't blame them. I don't think that was any sort of erroneous call on their part. It just, like Sam said, there's some misconceptions. Oh, and the switch at Top's car, the number 19, who's been leading for part of this, just made contact with the 167 of, and it's Jonathan Diggs again in trouble.
And we just had the car go upside down in this chicane. Patrick Nees in the Black Tree Race Crew car has rolled over and he's getting going again. A lot of damage to the 75 Porsche, but it's back on its wheels and it can keep going.
Oh, we're going to try and look at the replay. You can see that wing has seen better days. Looks like we might not have the replay on this one, sadly. So unfortunately, we won't get to see it. Glad to see he's got the car going. Please tell me he comes into pit lane. Yes, okay. That car gonna have to take a few repairs, unfortunately. Up in the lead of the GTEs now, it's the 188 Calvert Dynamics car. Kurt Crum up at the front. He has seen a lot of battles today in that Corvette. It's going to get overtaken here by Cologne, the number 48. Like we got a fight up in the LMP2s. Really, Steph, this is where we've had most of the action, it feels like, much of the day. These LMP2 cars.
Yeah, kind of an interesting development in this race. Most definitely did not expect the GT4s to be top of the charts with all the battles, because just how these cars are meant to be driven and how skill-based they are. If you get a really good driver that can really work with those cars, you are just gonna run away with that car and make a big difference. But the LMP2s just keep fighting away, not like they normally used to. But here we have Daniel B. Johnson side by side with Benjamin Cox around the outside. He goes and takes away that 6th place due to traffic.
That'll move him up. And is this going to be... Yeah, that is still yet another battle. Benjamin Johnson catching up to Daniel Johnson, as the 69's got to look behind. Can't wait around for the traffic as he catches up to him. That is another of our kinetic machines, currently running 7th place on the track. We're getting close to the halfway point in this race now. There's not really relief in sight per se, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, at least for our drivers. Up through Piratella. And Daniel Johnson does not look too confident in this car as he continues to lose to the 39. We've got a battle as well for 3rd in the GTEs. This is S's Racing, the number 28, as he's got less than a second back to the Vol 52 car. Spencer Todd currently in that BMW. Down through Aqua Minerale. Gaining time down 0.6 of a second. This is Garrick still running.
Timing and scoring there in the bottom corner, a little bit off for the GT4s right now, due to all the little technical gremlins we've had going on. Evan Wood, who is now driving the number 179 CMSRacing.com Team 2 BMW, which was leading for the first half of the race, it is not leading anymore. It's actually in 2nd place behind the number 286 Porsche, which is controlling the field. However, I'm curious to see how the strategy of both of those teams pans out in the program.
And speaking about things that may or may not be leading, the battle for LMP2 lead. Haven't said that in a very long time, but we are starting to get one once again. It's Jack Stiles versus Brandon Guracia. Most definitely one of the more impressive drivers here out today after a bad start to the office. He did find his groove, Brandon, and he fought his way back to that 2nd place position. And yeah, traffic, most definitely, like right now, helping him very much. Jack Stiles has to go to the inside here around that M4 GT4 car, and Guracia just can't take the normal racing line and out-accelerate Jack Stiles very easily right now down the straight, and just continues to close that gap.
Remember, this VRS 67 started it on the pole. So we held up here, yeah. That is Butler kind of in his way at the wrong time. That'll cost him some time. Thing is, and Sam will probably remember some of this, having covered the series with me, the Audubon Sports Car Challenge is another very frantic series that we have covered in the past, that Brandon, in that 67 machine, has raced in. Different machinery, mind you, but kind of makes me wonder if his experience having to weave through crazy traffic has helped him here today.
Probably, but I think if these drivers weren't experienced about dealing with lap traffic before this race, they've had plenty of opportunity now.
Yeah, who's a quick learner here? That's the question. as we ride on board, watching from the helmet cam, seeing if he can gain these seconds back. And they're coming up to Jonathan Diggs, so hopefully reputation won't cause us more woes here. The 167 out of the way.
The 124 just went for a slide in Aqua Minerale. Austin Milwain driving that car that Andrew Warren was dominating with earlier. And actually, that's got damage on it, the number 124 car. So that's unfortunate that our GTE leader for the first half of the race is having a much harder go at it during the second half.
If we could hop over to the, there's Milwain now on screen having to go by the M4. If we could go over to the 71 of Brian Bennett, being chased by, I believe this is the number 5 of Jimbo Pfeiffer for position. This is for 13th in class.
And it is actually a little bit of a funny situation, because that Porsche in between them, that red Porsche, is actually 18th place overall. That's Justin Garasek. And just behind Pfeiffer, that black and red Porsche. Oh, that's a contact!
Oh, gonna get turned around. And that was Jimbo Pfeiffer who came together with Dominic Warwick. That was not for position, just a lap in the wrong place at the wrong time. We're gonna take one more look at it.
Very, very interesting between those, because that was a unlapping maneuver gone wrong. And the thing I wanted to say, that black and red Porsche GTE car following Jimbo Pfeiffer is actually 19th place. Zachary Brown, so that was an interweaved battle with two cars battling the car that is not directly in front of them.
Yeah, with Garrick battling in the number 28. For those fans who are suddenly getting excited, no, it's not that Zach Brown. This is a Canadian driver who's going to get to the side and actually take the spot relatively easily over Justin. Does he fight back, or was he just going to let this one go? Uphill into Piratella, brakes a little bit early. Yeah, I think Justin is just not going to try and cause this one to be too much of a headache. He'll sit back in 5th now.
Yeah, and I'm glad we finally had the chance to clarify on the broadcast, talking about names, that it's Dominic Warwick. Because our time in scoring has been showing D. Right? Warwick. Yes.
Yeah.
Unless it's a pseudonym that we don't know about.
This is true. We do have that sometimes on iRacing. We've had some mysterious characters come in and shine brightly out here as they come down into Ravazza. Yeah, I think Justin saw the writing on the wall there with that one, because he's dropping back very quickly from Brown and just letting him through. That's not for position behind him with Anil Singh. The 115 can unlap himself there if he desires to, if he finds he's quicker than the number 28.
And we just had a pass for P number 6 in the LMP2 class. Benjamin Johnson of the 39 Texense Fitzy Motorsport Athena just got past Benjamin Cox, also of the Fitzy Texense, there we go, team. Oh, Cox touching the Jordan Johnson BMW there a little bit. So interesting tactics by the Fitzy cars.
We got to go to the overall lead. Sorry, Brandon Garasia's got a great opportunity. They just hit traffic, and he's right on top of him, and it's just not quite there as they were coming to Villeneuve. Hard place to pass. Styles has got to be sweating now. Sorry to cut you off there, Steph.
Yeah, no problem. Just a little bit of a multi-21 tactics in the back for Fitzy, and at the front they're still trying to defend that first place. But it should be very interesting, because Athena, Benjamin Johnson's just so much faster than Benjamin Cox right now.
Through Aqua Minerale, I'm hoping we can stick here for a while, because they are going to meet some traffic. It's Hall and Jaeger and Flame and GTE cars, and might catch them at a good place here if they can pass before they get to Ravazza. I don't think they've got enough. Styles might be able to get one of them. Which side is he going to pick? He goes off to the right side. Does he send it up the inside? And the next one, Jaeger holds, almost comes to the apex, makes it very difficult for the pair of them down into the apex. But it holds up the exit for Gracia worse, and just when he needs the run, it's not going to appear for him.
I'll give you a brief update on Treaty 4 as these two break apart a little bit. That time in the scoring you see in the bottom left now, that is accurate. Not only is Wood the lead in Treaty 4, but the fact that we only have 3 cars left on the lead lap in Treaty 4, such has been the unpredictability of this race.
Well, not too shocked. The AM class seen quite a bit of separation there. Sometimes you get those golden boys who have incredible pace, even though they've been rated a little bit lower. There you see our leader on screen.
But now the LMP2 leaders are close again, and now they're not because they're broken up once again by lap traffic into Aqua Minerale.
This one's over yet. As you see him come up to Alta, there's a lot of cars out there. It's just a conveyor belt of machinery. They're coming up to Jimbo Pfeiffer now, and they are going to catch them right as they get into Ravazza. He takes a little bit of a look, decides better of it. One car going completely off course to try and avoid the melee that he anticipates to happen. Off the turn, Styles using the slipstream as best he can. I think he's going to stay clear of Brandon, but they've got yet more cars to try and overtake.
Yeah, and it continues to be the Jack Styles car, just much better suited for the exit out of Ravazza 2. Just has that much better grip on the rear wheels to get his car driving faster to top speed. So Jack Styles is faster where it matters.
Racing is always about that complete package. It's not the one lap. It's not just one talent. You need to be able to do everything. Styles proving himself to be a force to be reckoned with. Not just a man on the mic, but I guess you can get behind the wheel and really power these machines around. Comes upon Scott Corbin, as well as looks like traffic within his own class coming up. That's going to be a completely different deal. Deloach for the number 53 car coming in front of him.
So part of that big pack that we saw them racing around a moment ago was the number 179 BMW, and I mentioned that Evan Wood has gone back into the lead in that class in the CMSRacing.com Team 2 machine, the number 179. That's because the 286 pit. Now, here's my question, as one of the LMP2 cars has gone off course there and things get a little bit dicey.
And that was just a pass for precision, sorry there. That was Michael Moore that just got past there as well. Jake Fox, he was 4th place, now relegated to 5th, maybe even 6th, as now also Benjamin Johnson tries to go past that blue and black Kinetic Racing MTEC car.
Yeah, so this is all for position in LMP2 here. I just want to make a note as we resume this LMP2 battle that even though that number 179 BMW is leading GT4 again, I'm not sure they can make it to the end on fuel.
Yeah, it's a good question, because we haven't focused on that strategy nearly as much. And when are we going to...
Who lost that? John Lang, 38th overall, the 205 just barely missed an LMP2 car as he rejoined the track.
And Benjamin Johnson just went off. It's all a little bit chaotic here, and Bill knows that now.
Yeah, that's Jake Fox. That's for position in the number 66. We're going to see if we can find him, but he went off in Tosa. You can see him rejoining. His teammate Johnson is catching up to him. See if we can get the replay on it. He had a little help, unfortunately, coming into the corner. We're looking at 35 minutes, 35 minutes a stint, or maybe 40 for those trying to stretch it in the LMP2s. I'm seeing most of the field on 13 or 14 laps since the last stop. The fewest right now is 11, and that's our leader, Jack Stiles. So when shall we see them in? I'm trying to do the math on how many laps it is in about a 35 to 40 minute stint
22
here.
laps-ish
Hey.
for...
Aiden Pike in the 72 into the pits. He's missing the whole front clip, and he had been running 3rd place in LMP2.
I'm checking to see how long ago this could have happened. Oh, you know what? It happened this lap. It's maybe about a minute ago. And he was involved in that car that was off earlier, Zach Brown. So one of our front runners in the GTEs also involved in it. Looks like we're not quite far enough back. It happened out of Tamburello. So this is our first game that we're looking for to see if we can find this. Car spinning in front of him. No, it looks like we're not going to be able to find him, unfortunately. But like you said, major implications for multiple front-running teams with that incident. And ironically, it looks like that is our other car, and they share pit stalls. That's going to be awkward. Let's head to our leader, Jack Stiles, still leading Gracia. Now, he has kept at bay. It's 1.2 seconds between them. As we've seen, that gap does not necessarily stay that way long. And indeed, lost about half a second right there off the corner.
I have this feeling we're going to see a second caution.
You know, I wouldn't bet against it at this point, from what we've been seeing. It seems like the intensity has ramped up, if anything. Usually, it tends to kind of peter out and level off as drivers get into the rhythm and figure out how to drive amongst each other. But the ambition is going up, and drivers are seeing potential wins, top 5s, top 10s on the cards. But oh wow, the corner of your screen, that unfortunately was Garasi being held up by Jonathan Diggs off of the Tosa hairpin. So we're getting a little close here for 10th place in the GTEs. Middle Finger Racing, who we were watching earlier on, is trying to run away from Scott Corbin in the number 54. Not sure how successful he's been, though. He's going to have to let an LMP2 through. That's Cologne.
All right, can we get a replay on the number 178 of Jordan Johnson? We'll see. We might not be able to.
Yeah, this is...
he just pulled off a great drift in Aqua Minerale. Went in it too deep, hand the back end all out. Obviously, didn't go off. He hasn't crashed, but he just had a nice save, so I wanted to give him a shout out. Running 4th place in class, by the way.
Yeah, so spread apart down there. That's still being led by Wood, with Mickey now in 2nd place. That's Andrew Mickey, by the way. Different Mickey out there. The other one driving in the GTEs. Oh, but John Lang is in the pits. He just handed over 3rd in the GT4s. Jordan Johnson promoted up to 4th. That's the one you just saw make the slide.
Well, I'm glad he got a reward for that slide.
Double checking to see if this is a scheduled stop. Actually, no, it is not. It is absolutely not. John Lang has been in for 3 minutes now. Something happened to the 205. I don't believe we're going to be able to get a replay on that one. That was quite a while ago. There you see him on the lane. Damage on the front left?
I'm pretty sure that was the GT4 car that got crashed out in that big accident out of Tamburello.
Oh, right,
tried
yeah.
to get earlier.
So much has happened. It's hard to keep track of the There's the leader going by him, so that'll put him a lap down. Oh, and is Gracia going to have another shot at things here? The 67 is within half a second, and they've briefly got a bit of clear track.
So I've honestly trying to trying to make a little bit more sense of all the data that we are seeing to get from the LMP2 cars, and it does seem a little bit like Russia most definitely has the more slipstream car over these two, with Styles more on the mechanical grip side of things. And it most definitely does work out the way Jack Styles is driving right now. The question is though, once Brandon Gurasia gets past, if he does get past, will Gurasia be able to just run away because he is the faster car of the twos in a straight line and thus can't be overtaken anymore? So have to keep an eye on this battle most definitely, but especially like here Variante Alta, just look at how much he's able to gap Gurasia in behind.
Just needs that good exit, that traffic to swing his way at the right moment. And credit to Brandon, he's been staying patient so far. Oh, as he goes a little wide through the first part of Hrvatsa, it cost him a little bit of time. Now, you said 22 laps or thereabouts for most of our drivers for a stint.
Yes.
We're on lap 17 for the majority of them. However, well, okay, we're 1 lap difference between Styles and Gurasia. Styles, 16 laps into his stint, so he pitted slightly later.
Yeah, and Gurasia was actually able to pull his first stint to 25 laps, while Styles' first stint was 24 laps, so that is a lap difference that these two have. And one thing they're not allowed to forget is there is a driver share limit, and that is 60%, as that there was a GTE very briefly on the right side. That was Justin Garek from the SS Racing team, who is now in pit lane.
And he had an incident quite a while ago, unfortunately. Now, this is bizarre.
Oh no.
It almost... He slid to a halt on his own, and then the car was struggling. Is it possible he borked the suspension somehow and it eventually gave way?
Actually, no, Justin Garek, he spun himself on the gravel there outside of Villeneuve, and then once he got going again, he got hit from behind by the 486 of Matt Andrews, and that just completely destroyed the left rear corner, putting him into quite the crap, and that's why SS Racing is now pretty much out of this.
And there we go, our latest retirement, I believe. No, they put another driver in the car, excuse me. So they're not giving up yet. They're going to try and get the suspension fixed and get the car back out there.
This is something we haven't seen a whole lot today. Teammates about to battle on track as 77 and the 39 Texan Fitzy Motorsports cars running 4th and 5th overall and 4th and 5th in class. My initial guess would be that there won't be any team orders here. However, with the amount of chaos we've seen out there today, I almost wonder if they should be, don't want to do anything too drastic.
And the funny thing is actually just one position further down the line. We don't have to go there. There's another inter-team battle. It's Daniel Johnson of the Kinetic Racing MTEC 69 versus Jake Fox of the Kinetic Racing 66. So for 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th, we have team battles.
That one's a little bit farther away, so let's get the cameras on these two. Love the crests and rises of this circuit, the incredible elevation change over the course of a lap. A little bit wide there for Cox, using every inch of the track he can. Coming out of Aqua Minerale, Johnson not able to capitalize on it, staying roughly 1 second behind. Oh, but this time it is Johnson who is slow off the corner. The 39 struggling to get the power down out of Alta. That's the lap car of McClintock. It's in the missed apex 714.
And they're coming up to Tamburello. We have a spinner down there. He's going to clear the area before they get there. But Jesse Butler in the number 752 had a spin.
Over to the
he
racing
actually
line
had help.
late. Yeah, for Cox.
And the thing for Jesse Butler is he actually had help in that spin because he got spun by no one less than Jack Stiles.
Oh. And this is... no, that's not Styles on the screen. Excuse me, that's the 77 that we're looking at. I was wondering, can you see from your angle, Steph, if he got any sort of damage from that?
Thankfully, the touch was such a light one and at such a low speed that Stiles was able to avoid any damage.
Careful, though. He's got a lead, and if he damages the overall pace of that car, that'll make life easy for Garcia. We continue to watch the fight for fourth. Now up to more traffic. Kurt Crum, our leader in the GTEs, he's not going to want to hop out of the way very fast. Thankfully, won't have to because it looks like Ben will get a nice clear run. Don't need to go to it. We had a self-spin for Jake Cox. It's our 8th place driver in the LMP2 as he gets the car going once again. Stepping away, back to Jake Stiles. Get our cameras on just to look at it. And yeah, that looks spick and span for now. Got a second and a half between himself and the VRS number 67.
And he'll be taking a breath of relief there because he just got by a pretty big amount of traffic. And now he's got a little bit of clean air.
And a good gap behind him. 1.9 seconds. This is the largest we've seen it for a minute. Back to the satellite car, Brennan Gracia. Whoa, and who was that in front of him? Oh, another heart attack moment. That was Jeremy Morrison, number 55. See if we can get an onboard there from Brandon's perspective. Yes, this will be an eyeful. God, the visibility in those cars is so limited. It's a good thing the car was in the right place at the right time. And the number 19s had more issues. The Marvin Artman Switch It Tapas car trying to get it going once again. This is one of our former leaders who unfortunately pitted at the wrong time and then worse, found himself in the midst of a lot of action he didn't want to be in. He's still trying to clamber back up to 8th as he's got more cars spinning. That is Evan Wood in the 179.
And that's our leader in GT4. So, and well, not our leader anymore. I thought they were on the back foot anyway because I'm not sure the 286 has to pit again, whereas this car, I think, does. Doesn't matter now. The 286 Porsche, the Grid to Life iRacers Bombshell Racing team is now leading GT4, and CMSRacing.com has been demoted to second.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think based on strategy, we will see the 286 have to come in one more time.
The 179. Oh, we got a car off there.
179 has been in twice. I'm seeing one stop for the Grid Life car right now, unless my timing and scoring is lying to me.
Yeah, but from what I recall, I believe a 179 pit under the caution, whereas I think the 286 stayed out under the safety car and made it stop after the yellow flag.
We're actually heading in right now. So the 179 is coming down the lane for yet a third stop.
And that helps the 286 even more, because if the 286 does have another stop to make, they can serve it and come out ahead. However, I almost wonder if this is an indication to that 286 Porsche team. If you do have to make another stop, do it now. There's no pressure from behind. They can pit, come out still in lead of a race.
Exactly.
As opposed to if they pit later on, you know, under a caution, that they might lose that lead.
I mean, I'm with you. It's basically a fail-safe measure to get to the end. And I'm watching our third place driver who's trying to catch up, who is Jordan Johnson, the 178, just ahead of this car right here, just behind it, rather, our leader, a lap behind, actually, Andrew Mickey. There he is now on screen, the car of Jordan Johnson.
Yeah. Let's go to the 39 and the 77. They did swap positions down the front straight without any issues. Teammates helping each other out, and Benjamin Johnson is now up in position.
Time coming on that one. Johnson did take over the car for Harold Statler. So should see Benjamin try to take this thing to the end. Now, what about, let's see, yeah, Jack Stiles still needs to swap out with his co-driver, which is going to be Gareth Mesham, another UK&I driver waiting to get into the car.
And same thing will be done for Brent Gurasia. But remember that he was not the driver to put his car into P2. Dallas Patasco will be taking over that car potentially for the 67 as they go past the Scuderia Monza. 31 car, 9th place in class. That means we only have 8 cars remaining on the lead lap.
Need. And from what I've seen with Dallas in previous majors races that he's competed in, he is a very, very fast driver. So I wouldn't put it against him to be able to get up to the front and then take the lead away. But again, we don't know if we're going to get another caution, and that could change the complexion of things entirely. Let's check in with our leaders. We've looked at Jack Stiles, but we haven't looked at Kurt Crum in a while. Jet of the GTEs, number 188, leading by actually about 36 seconds right now. But I do believe that is due to a difference in pit strategies. That's just the lapped car of Zimmerman, number 75, just letting him through there out of Villeneuve. So Crum's sitting well right now, but again...
Oh, LMP2 leaders into pit lane, both of them right now.
Not scheduled. 22 laps in, 24-25 for some of our other runners, going as long as they can behind them. As they trundle down pit lane, very slow pit lane here. Morley in the Evolve 6 car also looking for his service. But
trouble exiting Villeneuve. The number 72 car has been spun in front of a pack of GT cars, and things were getting a little ugly there.
Yeah, there's a lot of contact that happened there. In fact, hard contact with Brian McGreevy of the UDOX GTE. So that'll give him some significant damage. Benjamin Johnson inherits the lead in the LMP2, still being chased by the 77 of Cox. So where is Pataska going to return? He's in the car right now. Looks like he won't be better than 4th as he's been overtaken. Now down to 5th as yet more cars stream by. It's a long stop. I believe he's taking tires this time. He is going to come out ahead of Morley, but it's a much shorter stop for the number 6.
Morley did not take tires and he did not switch drivers. And the big thing is Dallas Pataska now in the virtual lead of this race because Messam, look at that, he's about a corner behind.
I don't know if Pataska is going to have it yet. Or actually, no, you're right. Because, yeah. Where did... Yeah, Mesham 2 cars back. Good catch on that, Steph. Okay, so a slower stop for the number 59, who was leading on the way into the pits, but has lost out on the way out. More of our LMP2s now on the lane.
Yeah, there comes now also Daniel B. Johnson from the Kinetic Racing, number 69, into the pit lane. So pretty much should be a no-brainer that the 67 VRS Satellite Racing of Dallas Pataska should take over the first place.
Watching Crum now. he's going to stay out. They've still got a number of laps to go before we'll see the GTEs in, unless they want to try an alternate strategy, which, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, might not be the worst idea. If they can get in and out before they get lapped, cover off the caution, and you're good to go to the end.
Yeah, in theory, I wonder how many of these stops we're seeing now are drivers short pitting, because the LMP2s might be able to make it to the end of one more stop if we see any GTE cars coming in that should be their last stop of the day.
Aska re-inherits the lead now. Morley up into second. Started this one in 10th in that Evolve Sim Sports Obsidian number 6 car. Great climb up the order using strategy and keeping it clean to great effect. And of course, third, as we mentioned, the Fitzy Motorsports 59 car falling to third from the lead. That'll be it for our pit stops in the LMP2s. While we've got a chance, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with yet more racing in the final hour here at Imola for round 1 of the Majors Team Endurance Challenge. Welcome back to Imola. We are now in the final hour here of the Majors Team Endurance Challenge. It has been a wild one for the first round ever of this series. And up at the front of it all, Dallas Pataska in the VRS Satellite Racing 67 leads the LMP2s. Kurt Crum leads the 188, leads in the 188, I should say. GTE class behind him giving chase, and then the number 286 of Andrew Mickey leads in the GT4s. Now, while the lead has been stretching away in the LMP2s, the battle for second remains very, very close, with Morley in the Evolve Obsidian car, trying to make his way through traffic. And in fact, there you can see on the screen just how many cars are in their way. Mesham keeps getting close, but that traffic just does not pan out in his favor.
And with just a side-by-side situation into Tamburello for 10th place in the GTEs, Jonathan Bain versus David K. Hall. That's the number 10 versus the 198 Corvette versus Ferrari, and that's a crash.
Is that close contact? What happened? We didn't see it on screen. Is actually on screen? Is this a battle for position? No, that's Morley going by Cohen. Sorry, we lost Mesham. So number 10 car, of course, with an interesting incident there coming out of Villeneuve. Still not totally sure what happened between them.
Yeah. That was actually number 10 getting a little bit happy out of Tamburello and ever so slightly came across to the 198, and there was most definitely quite a lot of netcode involved because Bain, his front really shot over to the left, but the touch was only on the rear. In reality, as also now Scott Corbin, he lost his car at Variante Alta. That was 20th position overall. 8th in class.
Magnificent catch by the 198 there. Bain managing to keep the car going. Oh, and our leader in the GTEs is in. Kurt Crum takes the 188 down. Now, he has been in this car since the start, and he's not handed it over. I believe he should have to get out of the car here.
This surely has to be a mistake. You're only allowed to drive a maximum of the 60% race distance. So, yeah. I have to calculate this.
Well, he's doing
that.
Yeah,
it's over 67% already. 2 out of 3 hours is 67%.
Well, in the number 67 car, our leader trying to weave through, but he had a clear track for a brief moment and had the fastest lap of the race that time through. That is going to be a rare joy, I'm sure, for our drivers in the LMP2s, managing to get a track that allows him to get a fast lap. So last option we had was about 80 minutes in, we said?
Yeah, it was right before the halfway point, really. I just wanted to make a note that the reason we're not talking about GT4 a whole lot is really the 286 Porsche is the only one still in contention there. Everyone else has fallen by the wayside, kind of. Is the Grid Life iRacers Bombshell Racing team is the only one on the lead lap, and we've got a spin there.
Well, meanwhile, let's head back to the second place battle in LMP2, because I think Morley is going to have a hard time holding back Mesham this time through. They're coming down the front stretch, and she's got the slipstream. Gareth looking to the inside, no cover from the number 6, and easily, finally takes that second place back after losing the lead in the last set of pit stops. Still going to have to get through all these lapped cars, though, and sending it in deep. Morley thought he could get through, and then unfortunately that wasn't meant to be. Boomsma and the number 115 is unfortunately held him back multiple corners here. In fact, going a long way around and finally able to sneak through. So, if we're going on estimations based on the last caution, I believe the next one should be somewhere around 20 minutes to go. That's a big if, though. Out of the alt chicane. Sorry, go ahead.
I just had the read up on the rules. They state if a platinum driver is paired with an amateur driver, the amateur driver has to drive at least 40% of the race distance. However, if a platinum driver is paired with a silver driver, then the AM driver must run at least 60% of the race. So no matter what Kurt Krum does, he is, by the way, a platinum driver, his team is pretty much officially disqualified.
And the 178 is very heated over the radio. I'm trying to see if I can figure out what has brought this out. This is second in the GT4 class.
Oh, in the middle of a 3-wide sandwich right now.
Going to be able to get out of that one cleanly.
Yeah, and the car behind him is actually third place in class, but there's a lap between them, so he's essentially a lap and a couple of seconds up there. But yeah, Jordan Johnson driving that number 178 car right now. While we were in break about 10 minutes ago, he was actually involved in an incident with an LMP2 car. Obviously, it hasn't done too much damage to the machine because he's still out there. But the other thing that's significant is because he's the only car in class on the lap he's on, it hasn't cost him any positions.
Just has to bring it to the end from here. 48 minutes left to go. Since we've had Krum come in, I don't know if we reported, Spencer Todd inherited the top spot in the GTEs. He leads the way by 40 seconds, I'm seeing on my timing and scoring. Big gap back to the Fitzy Motorsports Hades car in the 486. This is our leader there on screen now on the BMW. Should have him in a little bit of time. Again, though, I'm curious why we're not seeing more drivers take an early stop just to cover off that caution flag. Especially 50 minutes, they can easily get to the end from here.
Well, maybe they're feeling a little confident knowing the fact it took them 80 minutes to hit the first caution flag. Maybe they're all aware that, yes, there could be another one, but it's probably not going to happen for about another half an hour.
Well, to be honest, if I would be a driver right now, I would actually be willing to wait for that caution flag right now, because you pretty much know that if you get caught out by that caution flag entering the pit lane or at a really bad timing for yourself, then you are pretty much going to be cycling back quite far. But if that caution flag comes out, you most definitely know that everybody around you also will pit with you, so you're not going to lose anything.
See, the thing is, for me, we saw how dangerous it was being in amongst a lot of drivers trying to sort themselves out on the restart. I feel like the gain that you can get is take the stop, and then suddenly you're much more in clear air up at the front of the pack. I don't know. I guess it's sort of a risk-reward sort of thing that you kind of have to look at as we continue to follow Todd getting overtaken by our leader in the GT, or the LMP2.
Is Ross Cohen out of fuel in the Scuderia Monza number 31 car? He's chugging it along into the pits and actually comes to a stop right on pit entry. I think he blew up. There was a bit of smoke there. I think he might have blown the engine.
Yeah, he did. He did indeed on the way down into Ravazza. Another car suffering an engine expiring in the LMP2 class. That's the third one we've seen today. We'll replay on it here.
I
We'll
think
see.
you're right with being the third one.
Sure that we're going to get this one. Regardless, I can't confirm the engine went out in a puff of smoke just towards the end of the lap, and you can see he's come down the lane. I do believe it takes a minimum of about 50 to 55 minutes to put a new engine in these cars here in iRacing, so doubt he will return to the track. This is our leader down in GT4. Andrew still taking that 286 around. Looks like
CMS Racing Team are now running second and third again. The 179 has gotten back by the 58 Sector 8 machine. Oh, we got spin in the chicane.
that was just in front of our GT4 leader. That was Boomsma. This is the 115 car. Now, I've seen him have multiple incidents since I've seen him hop in the car. I don't think he's feeling terribly good about how that thing is handling. He does get it going. We're going to watch the replay. This happens in Alta. Oh, and was that our former leader there? Is that Crumb next to him that he almost made come?
Yes.
But like you say, this happened right in front of our GT4 leader, the blue, white and red Porsche you see there. And that's just to say, you know, even though that 286 car being driven by Andrew Mickey has a 2-lap lead over the rest of the GT4 field, had he nosed into that spinning car, that 2-lap lead would have gone.
Absolutely. Keeping your nose clean, almost literally, is going to be of utmost importance in this final stage of the race. Boomsma actually coming right up to him once again. Going to go around the outside of Tosa and be able to leave him be.
And I we see an LMP2 on the screen right here. I want to take up a little bit here the kind of a little bit of a slack we have right now going inside the LMP2 class. The leader most definitely has separated himself from the rest of the pack. Dallas Pataska living up to his name, just putting in blazing fast laps. The gap to second place, Texas Fitzy Motorsport. Aris
Speedworks Racing, the 404 in the wall. The number 29 BMW just had a high-speed spin at the top of the hill. Gets going again.
Oh, he got help too. Brett Trocine in the number 30 XMB LMP2 unfortunately gave him a big nudge. Let's see, as we're looking for the 404 car. There he is. So not sure that we'll be able to get the replay, unfortunately. Oh, we got into the caution.
Oh, there's a replay, and that obviously would have contributed to that incident count. So this is likely the last caution of a race, and it comes a lot earlier than what I think some of the teams were anticipating it. Some cars, I hear the pit siren going off, cars coming into the pits. I don't think you can do that right now.
Not after the caution flies, but it is Boomsma who is well down in the 115, so I think he's just going to swallow the penalty on that one. Okay, so this puts Pataska up at the front of a train, but, oh boy. Okay, this is a hard call, Steph. We are 42 minutes left to go. By the time, you think you'll be able to stretch it to the end?
I'm pretty sure we have seen these guys go to 25, 26 laps, which is about the 40 minute mark, so I wouldn't be surprised if these guys will be stopping here and just hope that they can make it last on the fuel. If not, they at least know that everybody who has pitted with them has to make a splash and dash as well.
I'm surprised we clicked off the incident count quicker in the second half than the first half, because the car count has gone down. But obviously some of these cars are beaten and battered and handling worse than they were before, and that's probably been leading to a few more off tracks and that, which probably accelerated it. I doubt we'll get another caution from here, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I guess you never know. Real quick, since we do have some time, these are the drivers that have the teams that unfortunately have called the day. Friction Racing's 169 is gone. Rival Autosports number 22 LMP2 car is out of this race. Devotion Sim Racing Purple, that's the number 42 car. Another LMP2 is also gone. And I see Forge Endurance GT4 number 55 is in pit lane. I don't think this is a retirement, though. I think they just stopped in not too long ago. I see the Mist Apex number 92. They have been in pit lane for about 2 minutes. I'm not sure if they intend to try and return to the track. Glad to see so many drivers get the cars out and try to continue this race, though. If I'm honest, I expected to see far more DNFs by this point.
Yeah, it's probably educational for these teams to continue on out there because this is part of a championship. It's round 1 of 5 of a season where we've never seen rules like this before. So, honestly, any track time you can get, not only is it going to help your team pick up positions from all the incidents we've been seeing, but it might help educate the teams on how their cars could handle or what kind of strategy they could play in future rounds.
By the way, guys, as the cars are starting to drop into pit lane, we have gotten word about the situation with Kurt Krum and why he is continuing to drive. Apparently, there was a little bit of an issue with registering that car for this race. And with the new system, if you remember, you have to register your drivers before you enter the race. So, yeah, there was a little bit of a hiccup with the registration of that car. It's only Kurt Krum who is going to race that car for the whole race, which means that he is going to receive about 40 penalty laps deducted from his end lap, which means he is going to cycle out somewhere in the back end of the field. But the biggest thing is he is still going to get classified and score some points instead of scoring none.
Very clever on their part to notice the situation and try to make the best of a bad situation. By the way, going against your orders here, Steph, Dallas Pataska stayed out. In fact, I think most of our LMP2s stayed out.
And that traps a lot of cars who would have been hoping for him to pit so they could get a wave around it, keeps them a lap down. What's interesting here, and one reason we might have seen so many cars stay out under green, is that there's so many different drivers on different laps by this point that there's some cars out there might not necessarily be concerned about racing their competitors on track. They just want to make sure that they don't lose an extra lap to the leader. You know, try and keep it so that the car behind them doesn't get on the same lap as them.
That's a good point. So we watch the 188 leading our GTE class. Waiting for everybody to kind of cycle through and catch up to our leaders.
I am not sure if I've missed something here, but I'm seeing a lot of damage on the 77 Texense Fitzy Motorsport car, so I don't know what is going on there, but the rear extremely damaged on that LMP2.
And it happened about 2 laps ago. I'm checking to see what caused... Oh, he got in an incident with Jeremy Morrison of the number 55. This must have happened right before or at the caution. This also could have brought it out. And to be honest, unfortunately for the Fitzy Motorsports Hephaestus team, seems to be the mistake of Benjamin Cox that initiated that contact. He's back out now. He's on the lead lap, but he's well far back and in 6th place, and we don't know how that car is handling.
Yeah, it should be very interesting, especially with that big diffuser these cars have on the rear. And yeah, just to pick up once again on that pit strategy, I'm a little bit surprised that cars like the 39, the Texense Fitzy Motorsport Athena's car didn't take that pit stop and just banked on another hiccup somewhere around the track.
And we're going to get ready to go here as our pace car pulls in. That's going to give control to Pataska. Waiting for him to go. And green flag is out. We are off once again for what we hope is the final restart here at Imola. Big jump for the VRS 67. And unfortunately, we're getting a little bit of radio that Travis Henderson's very upset over something.
Hopefully we don't get too many people upset into Tamburello the first time around.
I'm watching to see if everything's going to be nice and calm into there. They were very spread out this time. They did tell the drivers in the drivers meeting, and in the rules, they have to be 1 second apart from each other during the cautions and on the restarts, just to give each other space for things like this. And that actually seemed to have spread things out significantly enough that it's not too dramatic of a restart. And boy, Pataska is loving this. It's a 12-second gap down to Mesham right now.
Yeah, second and third in LMP2, though, or the drivers that have been second and third restart and nose to tail. Looking at our GT4 leader here, Mickey might as well just get out the way of everyone. He's not going to lose the lead.
That's a fair point. Looking at the battle for second, this is Mesham, still with Morley behind him. They were fighting earlier, but Morley had to give it up eventually after Mesham finally got the run. Now that they've been brought back together, does Michael think he can try and attack? And interestingly, 34 minutes left to go. These cars are on 15 and 16 lap stints so far. They absolutely cannot make it to the end from here.
Yeah, I think it's a track position call that they made there, knowing, oh, we got one car off in the final corner. Try and find out who that is.
Morton in the number 111. I think he did hit the wall, and he's trying to limp it back home. So first car to have pitted under that caution is Daniel Johnson in the number 69. He is 38 seconds behind Dallas Pataska. Now, I'm pretty certain that Dallas cannot get in and back out in that time.
How much traffic do those cars still have to deal with, though?
I mean, a fair bit. It is, you're right, it is climbing. It's up to 41 seconds now. Oh, man, I'm going to have to check and see kind of what the bogey time is just for a splash and dash. Because at the very least, that's what we're going to have to see from these drivers who stayed out on this stop. This seems like a gamble. I still don't think that this is the gamble that they should have taken.
Well, if they learn today, maybe they'll not do it again in the future. Dallas Pataska leading the field, just clicking off fast lap times right now. 1 minute 30, fastest lap of a race.
The car now finally in clear air and able to pull ahead. Probably trying his darndest to make as many fast laps as he can for the reason you pointed out, that just to separate himself. And you know what, Sam? Good call, because it seems to be working. It's up to 47 seconds now that he's got on Daniel Johnson. Close fight for third in the GTE class. This is Philip Morton ahead of Andrew Waring. And a lot of traffic down into Ravazza. It's going to make some of the lines awkward amongst the other drivers. They're able to get through. Waring now sizing up Morton. He's going to have the slipstream coming down the front stretch. It's coming down to a car length between them. Less than a car length now. Having to look to the outside as Morton covers him off. A little bit of lap traffic once again. That car is going to go completely off course to stay out of the way. Morton saved by the bell.
Yeah, Warren does have damage to that rear wing, which won't be helping him.
Ooh, and another little problem is a bob and a weave from the GT4 car of John Lang. causes Andrew Waring to have to take avoiding action. That could have denied him the chance that he was looking for right there. With 30 minutes to go. A sixth of the race left. This is, of course, for the final podium spot in this class between the Fitzy Motorsports Hades car and the Evolve SimSport SPB 124.
So I just trying to make a quick calculation here about the pit stop delta for just a full fuel of tank, the full tank of fuel I will run, for the LMP2s, and the pit stop delta is about a minute for them if they have to fill the tank to the brim. So expect about 40 seconds-ish for the last pit stop delta time-wise.
And that appears to be just enough the way things are going for the Kinetic Racing number 69. Might not be able to get by Dallas Pataska. Pataska now 18 laps into this stint, so he can at least go a few more.
Yeah, Pataska's starting to catch lap traffic, but of course the traffic that he's catching now is GT4 cars that he should be able to easily blast by without getting held up too much.
Still looks so sketchy trying to get by those slower classes. Let's head back to that battle for third in the GTEs. Waring chasing Morton. And in fact, I think this is probably the best run we've seen in a while from Waring. But he decides to back out of it. The 124 had a small overlap into Piratella. Looks for the over-under. Doesn't quite get it. Behind them, that's Torres. That is a lapped car in the same class, so he has no part in this fight. Just staying right on the gearbox, making sure to fill his mirrors from each and every corner. Is it a matter of time between them for Waring to try and get this spot, or is he really going to have to work for it and then push hard to keep from being vulnerable to Morton taking it right back?
Well, knock on wood, this looks to have been a cleaner start to the stint than what we saw about an hour ago, so I think we are going to go green to the end from here. So whatever strategy these drivers have left, they've got to put it out there, and may the best team win.
I do think that the gaps, the increased gaps that they saw on that restart helped a lot. It seemed a lot of cars were trying to come back from the pit stop, as we've got our first taker for the final stop. Michael Morley is in.
Oh, Waring to the inside there on screen against Morton. What a dive there into Tosa. It's a drag race down the stretch. Oh, they're even touching wheels here between Morton and Waring. Waring with the inside. Can he hold that gap though? Yes, he can. Still on the inside, but has to give up the ghost one more time.
It was a valiant effort, and the 124 is going to have to try again. Man, I did not think that Morton would be able to hold him back that way. Still, look at this. He's a little slow coming off of Aquaman O'Reilly. Waring.
Here's Pataska.
Yeah, out to try. That is indeed, yes, our leader in the LMP2s. He's not going to want to interrupt this too badly. He's got a big gap back behind him. 18, almost 19 seconds to the nearest car. He gets one. And he's going to stick it in for two. Oh, and that opens the door. He tries to walk through, but it takes them both out. The third place battle sees both of our GTE cars off and into the kitty litter.
They're still racing, trying to get back onto the track first. Warren does it, and he has oncoming traffic he's got to watch out for. So he made the pass.
That is going to anger Morton quite a bit. And I don't blame Waring for going for it. He saw the door open, and he thought maybe that could be his chance. It just did not pan out the way he hoped.
Well, to be honest, that door was ever only a very small creak open, and he door slammed that door open, and yeah, it really wasn't the way to do that. In the case of Warren, he is the better car on the brakes. He could have just waited for Tamburello because he was most definitely perfectly set up for a pass under the draft there. But I guess that also kind of makes it work.
Incredibly, neither of them, well, I guess you could say Morton lost a position, but they swapped positions and they didn't lose anything other than that. Just time gone away because the fifth place car rather, Brian Halleck was too far behind to take advantage of it. So I guess that means that Andrew Warren stubbed his toe trying to get it in the door, and Philip Morton smashed his nose trying to hold it shut. And both of them going to try and get to the finish from here with the damaged cars. Meanwhile, we're watching our leader, Dallas Pataska, in the number 67, not coming in this time by. This will start lap number 22 on his stint. So Morley took his stop. Haven't seen any of the other top drivers come in for that last little splash of fuel. Took away one of our best battles there, that little incident that we saw between Fitzy and the Evolve car. Interesting to note that Mesham is now, well, actually, no, excuse me, he was fighting with Morley, so that's why he is so gapped to the car behind Benjamin Johnson, who is now 4 seconds back from him. The other Johnson, Daniel B. Johnson, in the Kinetic number 69, currently a minute 4 behind. I'm sorry for doubting you, Sam. It seems that this strategy looks like it will indeed work.
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh,
Now-
and
don't feel this
54, Ernie Ludwig just got crashed by a lap car that I don't actually know what that was from Ernie Ludwig. Just came
that was-
across in the braking zone.
He was trying to slow the car up, and Ola Sandqvist, going to get that one right. I'm guessing that's Swedish or Norwegian there. The 68 just got into him a little bit. I don't think we got a replay of it, but Ola is going to be able to keep going. Oh, we do have a replay. Oh, no, we do not. Misunderstanding there.
Yeah, still is weird though that the 54 just came across the front of Ola there, just without any need to do that. Either way, 54 continues to run only a slight bump to the rear into the barriers, so Ernie Ludwig still running.
Our leader in the GT4 is having to deal with our LMP2 leader sneaking on by. But it is now, am I seeing this correctly? 2 laps between first and second place in the GT4s.
Yeah,
This
he's held that for a little while. It got quite chaotic in class in the mid half. Hey, Joe, the number 66 Kinetic Racing machine has came into the pits from 7th, only 1 lap down, and there's no driver in it. And there's been no driver in it for a little while.
Ooh. Well, let me see if he had an incident of some sort. I'm checking. Well, the car just pulled over, and I don't see any of engine expired.
No, they did. Out of Tamburello, right on the apex, the third one, they blew the motor.
Oh. And that means they're done. They cannot return to the track from there. So that leaves us with only 3 cars left now to make their final stops. Which one is coming in right now? It's our leader, Dallas Pataska. 67 on the lane. Where is Daniel Johnson? Daniel Johnson's just coming out of Tosa right now. Yeah, this should easily work for the VRS 67 car. 20 minutes left to go. So shouldn't need too much fuel at all to pop into this machine. There's Johnson on screen right now, heading up over the hill into Alta. And Pataska's moving. So yeah, easily into the lead once again for the 67 team.
20 seconds of fuel for Pitaska.
In the meantime, I can tell you that the Kinetic Racing 69 is on to the front stretch, and we'll get an update on that gap on where that wound up. As our timing and scoring updates itself, looks to be about 18 seconds between them, 17 seconds. So plenty of buffer. Dallas called that one to perfection, or his crew chief, whoever might be up on the wall, calling the shots for that VRS team. Still waiting on a couple men. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, we still don't know if the likes of Daniel and that can make it to the end, do we? They pitted with like 35 to 40 minutes to go. We think they can, but they might not.
Mesham is in. Now, Mesham might be under threat, though. I think he was a long ways back from our leader, so he might lose a position to Johnson. And then that allows Benjamin Johnson and the number 39 to inherit the lead, and the last car to take a stop. Boy, he is pushing it a long ways, too. He's on lap 25 of his stint. He got held up big time right there out of Tamburello. That was Jack Weddle and the 808 who had to let him by. Not missing anything over in the GTE leaders. Kurt Crum leading by about 20 seconds over Kevin Hill, and the 52 currently holds P2 down in that class.
Mesham out of a pit's not too far behind Johnson, but Johnson is indeed in front of him.
Absolutely. Got about a 2-second gap, which traffic could take away. So that is a potential danger there for the number 69 car.
Or fuel conservation. Even if Johnson makes it to the end, he might have to save a tiny bit.
I think he's got it. We got 18 minutes to go.
The interesting part here is as well, Mesham, 16 seconds of fuel, 4 seconds less than VRS Satellite Racing.
So, not sure why there's a discrepancy between the pair of them. That is odd. Just trying to run through my brain and see if there's a way they may have taken tires or done something a little bit differently from them. Not entirely sure. Whoa! On screen, what was going on there between the kinetic machines? Someone having to take big avoiding action and actually bumping off course Mesham there. That was Travis Henderson trying to let his teammate through. Actually, no, excuse me. No, Henderson was with Grizzly Motorsports, so that wasn't a teammate. It caused a big headache for Morton, who was gaining with that exchange until he got shoved off track. Wow. Okay, bizarre things happening in the fight. Oh, no, excuse me. Morton is not in the fight there. He's actually battling with Grizzly Motorsports car. I'm getting my bearings. Just bear with me. Someone save me from the silence, please. Meanwhile, up at the front, we're waiting for the number 39 of Benjamin Johnson to come in on lap 26. There we go. Stretching it a long way.
I think Daniel Johnson is about to lose third place very quickly.
You're right. Mesham right on top of him. Giving chase here. Watch the 39 be the last car to take a splash of fuel. Where is he going to come out is the question. Let's head over to the number 59 because he is on the charge and looking to attack. He might have something down into Ravazza, but decides to back out of it. Could he get the slipstream maybe out of this final double apex corner? It'll be a good opportunity. They will have a little traffic in front.
This could get interesting here, or maybe not. The traffic gets out the way, but could still get interesting with these two drag racing down towards Tamburello. Backing off a little bit there. Gresham knows he's faster. He doesn't have to make the move now.
John McClintock next in front of them. He's got oh, there we go. Taking advantage of the traffic. They're going to go around either side, but Mesham gets P2 out of that move. Great stuff. Sneaking around the slower GT4 car, but it's going to swing right back as he goes off track. And now Daniel Johnson is suddenly back up into second.
Yeah, lap traffic hasn't really been much of an issue all day as far as positions are concerned, and we just saw two switches here within 5 seconds.
Mesham's not going to be happy about that. He knows he's quicker. He knows he can do something here. He's got 15 minutes to do it. That should be plenty of time. So our order now that every car should be done with their pit stops is Dallas Pataska leads in the VRS 67. Daniel Johnson in the Kinetic 69 is in second. Barely, though, as he's under attack from Mesham once again. Holds the defensive line down into Ravazza.
Oh, he's lost it.
And he spins it around. Mesham is going to get that one easily.
Oh, keep it. There we go.
Now he's able to clear the car, but he falls well down the order. Benjamin Johnson up to third with that. And then the Fitzy Motorsports 77 with Benjamin Cox up to P4. Morley even into sixth. Boy, Daniel Johnson lost a lot with that one maneuver.
Yeah, and he lost it on entry. The rear end had kicked around on that car before he ever got to the corner. It's such a difficult turn to get right.
I can't confess that I have too many fond memories of Ravazza and trying to navigate my way through there. The battle's not over for the third spot. Benjamin Johnson and Benjamin Cox. So we've got two Johnsons that we're fighting, and we've got two Benjamins that we're fighting, just to confuse our viewers. 77 is the one giving chase on the 39.
It's teammate racing right now because the VRS satellite racing is being followed by three Fitzy cars. That's the 59 ahead of the 39, ahead of the 77.
Yeah, what a great showing from that team today. Looking to at least claim two of the spots on the podium. And we're not done. I mean, you never know if we could get some problems for Dallas Pataska and they could just sweep the podium here today.
Alternatively, if a slap traffic backs them all up like that again, they could run into each other.
Absolutely. Which certainly would be horrible for them, but great for the Evolve team, who's still giving chase. It's actually, yeah, that P3 battle has three cars now involved in it, being led by Ben Johnson, with Ben Cox just behind, and Michael Morley, having finished his stops recently as well. There you can see him in the sort of mint green number 6 vehicle, trying to get closer and get a chance to attack.
And along with the 69 car of the Kinetic Racing MTEC team, they are the last 6 cars to be on the lead lap.
Yeah, so this explains why Daniel Johnson lost so many positions so quickly. These three are, you can throw a blanket over them for this battle for third. Oh, well, you could about a lap ago. They broke up a little bit now.
Well, I mean, we've seen that changes so quickly around here. So I would not put it past them all coming back together pretty soon. I have to imagine this feels good for Dallas Pataska, of all people. Both himself and Gracia, who have a 24-second lead over the next closest car. They really can take their time to try and rifle these laps off in the last 10 minutes and bring it home. Well, we give a little bit of love to some of our GT4 drivers. We've already seen our leader plenty of times, the Grid Life number 286 of Andrew Mickey. Why don't we take a glance once again at Jordan Johnson, the 178. Now, he's got almost a full lap, actually, ahead of Evan Wood, who's back in third. There you can see him in the M4, continuing to cycle around.
And that's teammates there, second and third place. CMSRacing.com team cars. So they won't get the win that it looked like they might have had in the bags when they were leading the field around earlier on, but still they'll have 2 cars on the podium. I think I'll be quite content with that. Also, shout out to the Sector 8 number 58 machine, because I saw that car having some troubles earlier on, but it's persevered and running in 4th place right now with Robert Garnbill behind the wheel. And to emphasize my point there, you see damage on the front end of that BMW.
Took over a number of laps ago from Stephen Paulison, and is just getting ready to bring it home there, Steph.
And yeah, speaking a little bit about the GT4 cars, that's also where our Dory Award for this race goes, because the 55 of Forge Endurance GT4 43 laps down, nearly 20 laps down on the next car ahead of them, still running, still racing, quite battered, but who really cares?
The car that you shared with Dominic Warwick, who has since handed it over. Car actually doesn't look too bad. Got a little paint scraped up, a few dings in it, but they're keeping it going. They want some points for today. As they come out of Tosa, that's just behind our leader Dallas Pataska. Now to 25 seconds ahead of Mesham.
Yeah, I think Pataska's looking at a 110 lap race, and he's on lap 103 right now. I could be wrong there, though. We'll get more accurate numbers in the closing laps.
We've had some big climbers in the LMP2s. 4th place with Cox in the car of the Fitzy Motorsports Hephaestus has gone up from 14th on the grid. Similar climb for the Kinetic Racing 69 of Daniel Johnson. Would have been even more if it wasn't for the mistake that he made, but he's in 6th right now. And then you get to the Grizzly Motorsports car. Talk about a Dory Award. He's a lap down, but Travis Henderson has allowed it to climb up from 17th to 8th, a 9 position.
But we have just had a crash over at Villeneuve. Darren Buckle in the number 92 Missed Apex F1 podcast team Scuderia. That car is not handling at all.
I'm not sure if he can get it going again. Our cameras can't even find him. He's found a pocket that's out of the way. There we go. Yeah, he's going to halt, and is he going to pull on track? No. Not for sure. He had a clearing there. There he goes.
Yeah, this was all his own doing there, Darren Buckle. He just lost it in the entry into Villeneuve, locked up the tires and made it somehow stick, and chose the very long way around, as he's now once again going up to Peloton.
Let's go back to P3 and the LMP2s. Ben Johnson is under immense pressure from Ben Cox. There you see, that's Johnson in the number 39. Cox with his teammate in the 77. We talked earlier about team orders. They've made it this far. They've only got 2 seconds back. They've got to go by almost 4 wide, 3 wide instead for them as they sneak through. I mean, if you were up on the box here, Steph, would you tell them hold station, bring this thing home?
Nah, let them fight. The people want carnage, and the people shall get carnage.
I would say hold station till the final lap. You know why? There's 6 cars left on the lead lap. If they wreck on the last lap, oh well, they get 5th and 6th.
It's a fair call. Cox, though, loses out through this portion of the lap. Some of that lap traffic, some of that just having a few slides here and there. Can he regain it in the final 6 minutes? As they come through the GT4 cars. Lang trying to stay out of the way. Same thing with McClintock. Both the Porsches going to stay off to the side. Those Missed Apex F1 cars are going to let them through nice and easily. Let's see, how many laps do we have left for Dallas Pataska, who's got a big gap. Everybody behind.
5, I think, depending on where he is. Dallas Pataska coming up now to Variante Alta. 4 or 5, more towards 4th, though, I think.
Yeah, I think it is 4 to go for him because he's just going to dip under 6 minutes here, and he's got a ways before he gets to that timing line.
Yeah, I think 4 laps to go makes sense here. It's like you say, 1 minute 30 a lap, just a tick under 6 minutes, which means I was off because I said it would be 110 laps and it's only 105. And Joe, you were complimenting my strategy earlier. Obviously, you don't watch a Lionheart IndyCar series enough on GSRC because it's only worked 1 out of 18 times so far this season.
Self-burn, those are rare. But that's Pataska now starting lap 106. And yeah, I'm pretty sure with this lap it should be 4 to go.
Absolutely. So, as they continue on around, credit to the number 52. Well, wait, what happened to Kurt Crum? Did Kurt Crum come into pit recently? Yeah, 6 laps ago. We missed this. The 188 who was leading in the GTEs has handed it over because he could not get to the finish on his fuel. This means our leader is Kevin Hill in the Evolve 52.
And not by a lot. Only a second over Andrew Warren. I would not like to be only a second ahead of Andrew Warren with 3 laps left to go or 4 laps left to go, whatever we're at now.
Yeah, I wouldn't either if I'm honest. Warren is definitely a hard charger and a fierce competitor. He's not going to take this one sitting down.
Though we have to mention these are teammates as well. So I don't expect Warren to go that hard into a battle knowing that he could prohibit his teammate from potentially even make it onto the podium.
True. I will say, though, that Warren is one of those drivers that has been mourning the loss of another championship in the main major series. So I'm sure he'd love a victory here to try and see if he can take a championship here in the MTEC series, even if he can't do it in the actual majors. 1.2 seconds between himself and his teammate, Kevin Hill, with 3.5 minutes left to go now.
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure that the 67 wasn't going to put them another lap down. He's not. He's the other side of the circuit. So these two are coming to 3 laps left to go. Our race leader will be coming to 2 laps left to go. You might catch him, I don't know.
I'm checking. It's going to be close, if I'm honest. They're cycling around at about 1:30 for LMP2s, whereas the GTEs are doing 1:40, so 10 seconds.
Yeah, oh, Pataska getting bulked there. Yeah, no, I changed my mind. So Pataska's coming to 2 to go here. I think he will lap the GTE cars. So the GTE leaders are currently within 2 laps to go. Because they're going to get lapped.
Probably it's gonna be very close between Pataska and the GTE leaders, but I honestly don't expect them to be lapped, though I think it's gonna be very close.
Oh,
because like traffic of
yeah. That's the missed Apex F1 podcast cars that had to jump out of the way of Pataska. Boy, he is leaving nothing on the table. He's got a 30-second lead now, and that VRS car is still taking a few moves that look a little sketchy.
Well, whether there's 2.5 or 1.5 laps left for our GTE leaders, since they're falling into favour of the current leader, the 52 car, he's got a bit of a gap over Warren.
It's up to 1.5 seconds now.
Traffic though.
Yeah. And is that Diggs that they're going by currently? No, that's Ludwig. The 54. Ludwig going to stay out of the way, and he will create a buffer, so Warren might get a little bit checked up here, or can he use this slipstream to get himself that little bit more speed as they come off the corner? I'm watching the gap between them. It was down to 1 second, up to 1.1. So So,
And
about.
yeah, and coming out the final turn right now is Pataska, the overall race leader. He is getting the white flag. He is starting his final lap. The question is, will he catch the Evolve Sim Sports GTE teammates? Are they on their final lap, or do they still have 2 laps left to go?
Into the first corner. This is Pataska on your screen as he's in Tamburello. Waring is currently in Villeneuve. Another question for this potentially, if it is close, will Pataska be aware enough if he splits the pair of them by the time they get close to the line to let up and let them battle?
And
I'm
2
going to make a bold prediction here. He's not going to let them.
Yeah, and 2 cars just tangled in Tosa there. Didn't look like it interfered with them too much.
This more traffic in front of them. That's Gamble in the Sector 8, number 58 car. And a very slow Gabriel Roos letting them by for some reason. Oh, he's getting checked up big time. This is the opportunity that Waring's probably looking for as they come down the hill towards Ravazza. Pataska's actually closing in. This will be very, very tight. Off the corner. I think they're going to be able to make it to start one more lap through. Dallas Pataska, though, has the checkered flag hanging in front of him. And the 67 will win the inaugural race of the Majors Team Endurance Challenge. There is our leader for the GT4. He's got a ways to go around. He'll be our next one across the line. Then we'll have the battle between Waring and Hill. That is Waring trailing behind. Car off track. That's Jeremy Morrison. Just staying out of the way of the pair of them.
And because the leader, the overall winner, crossed the line right behind these two, if these two tangle, they'll still get first and second.
Gloves are off. Let's see who's willing to risk it as we watch our leader in the GT4 still having to let many cars by. But it doesn't matter because Mickey cannot lose it at this point. Victory for the number 286 team. Grid Life iRacers Bombshell has won here today in Italy. Up to Alta for our pair of GTE leaders. Hill still has the advantage. Oh, but he's slow off the... Waring has a shot. He looks to the outside. Defensive move from Kevin Hill in the number 52 machine. Can he hold him off for just 2 more corners? Breaking it in deep, Andrew Waring then comes back for the over-under. Nothing there. He's got one last shot and trying to get a good launch off the turn. I don't think it's there. He's in the slipstream, but Kevin Hill brings it to the line and wins in the number 52. Wow, 3 hours of racing, and it came down to 1/10 of a second between them at the line. We're going to take a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. welcome back to Imola. The first round of the Majors Team Endurance Challenge went the way of VRS Satellite Racing. The 67 team saw Pataska and Gracia bring it home with a 32-second gap to the next one back. That would be Fitzy Motorsports number 59 car that finished P2, starting 7th on the grid. That team seemed to have it under control today because they took 2 spots on the podium, neither of them starting on the podium. The Fitzy Motorsports number 39 going from 9th to 3rd. Evolve Obsidian managed to finish in 4th today, and the Kinetics number 69 car from 16th to 5th. You got the Fitzy Motorsports number 77, the last of the 3, came home 6th and the last car on the lead lap. Switch It number 19, who at times were in the lead, unfortunately fell afoul of the caution at the wrong time for their pit stops, and they wound up 7th. Grizzly Motorsports was P8, and then you get to cars multiple laps down. Kinetic number 63 was 9th, Total Downforce was 10th, and Forge Endurance 1 was 11th. 6 laps down for the last of our finishers in the LMP2s, Speed Asylum Bombshells number 72.
And winning over in GTE by just a couple of car lengths was the Evolve SimSports Titanium number 52 machine ahead of its team number 124 car. The 486 Texen Fitzy Motorsports car came home 3rd in class. By the way, all 3 classes had team drivers on the podium. Calvaire Dynamics Bombshell Racing finishes in 4th position with the number 188, which was also the lowest amount of incident points in the race, only 4 incident points for that car. Forge Endurance Zero finishes 5th in GTE ahead of the Sector 5 teammates. The 71 is Sector 5 Black Ball Racing ahead of the 65 MTEC Wild Blue Yonder. Elite West USA finishes 8th in class ahead of Kinetic Racing, and Mark 1 Esports rounds out the top 10 in GTE. Behind them is the V Apex Racing Group Atlantis number 112 ahead of the UDocs Frank number 68, Forge Endurance 404 the number 102 car, Hard Promises Racing the number 117, Speedworks Racing the number 404, and Grizzly Motorsports by TFR Labs the number 107, and then you end up with a couple more cars that fell into trouble before you get to our GT4 leaders.
Indeed, and that was won by the Grid Life iRacers Bombshell 286 team, who won in the GT4. CMSRacing.com took their 178 car into the 2nd spot, and the podium was rounded out by another CMSRacing.com team. The 179 machine did it over there. You've got Sector 8 finishing 4th in the number 58 car. 5th went to Miss Apex F1 podcast team Tax D in the 808. And I'm just going to give them an acronym so I don't have to say this name multiple times. The MAF, we'll call them the MAF team. The 34 car for them was behind them, and then you got the MAF number 205, and the Mad Sim Racing yellow car finished behind them in the 282, followed by the Forge Endurance GT4 car finishing back in last of the class. Of course, we have our winners ready to talk to us here, starting with the winner in the LMP2s, Dallas Pataska of the VRS Satellite Racing number 67. Dallas, congratulations, a 30-second plus victory over everybody else. The strategy seemed to work out. I have to admit that I questioned at points towards the end of the race whether you made the right call not to take the pit stop during the caution. Did you ever doubt yourself, or did your team ever doubt yourself on that call?
Are you referring to the call for the no pit stop under caution or the driver strategy?
The no pit stop under caution.
It was a tricky one, but ultimately we just didn't want to be stuck in the traffic, and I think it paid off pretty well. And we found out that pretty quick on the restart when I had 10 plus seconds after about 3 laps. So it was really just a call of not wanting to be in traffic and being able to get that gap built up right away due to being in the lead and whatnot.
Talked about that a bit, that the pit stop calls were going to be fascinating throughout the season, because this is such an odd dynamic that we're seeing in this series with them. On that note, you talked about the driver swaps. Obviously, you anchored it, even though you qualified the car. Was that by design from the start?
Yeah, once we figured out that we didn't have to start the same guy that queued, it was pretty much I'll queue and then someone else will finish, or that I'll finish and someone else will start. Brandon did a great job with traffic. I knew from the get-go as soon as he was on the roster that he's great in traffic, and it fit with the driver rating. So it's a good balance between the two of us.
First time we've covered a race with the LMP2, the GTEs, and the GT4s all racing together. Now that you've had a chance to be on the track, what are your thoughts with this unusual combination?
Well, it's absolute chaos out there on track in the LMP, being under all of those cars. But at the same time, it is a lot of fun. It's a huge challenge. But you can't think. If you stop and think, you're getting into a wreck or you're putting yourself into a difficult position. So it keeps you on your toes. I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season brings us.
Are as well. Before we let you go, anyone you want to thank for you and your teammate?
I'd like to give a shout out to Brandon. He did a great job starting the car, going almost 2 hours strong, keeping it mostly clean. Hey, just did a great job all around. Looking forward to running some more races with him here in the future.
Great stuff. That was Dallas Bataska, part of the winning team for the VRS number 67. Up next, Sam has caught up with our winner in GTE, Kevin Hill.
Yes, Kevin Hill, one of the two drivers of the number 52 car today, alongside Spencer Todd. And Kevin, an Evolve Sim Sports 1-2 at the line, and your car was in first. How good does that feel?
Oh man, it feels good. It's my first majors win, first race with the new team, first race for the entire team. So we worked hard, put about 20 hours of practice in, and had great setups, good teamwork, and obviously 1 and 2, which was really nice.
Now, what were your thoughts heading into that final lap, though? Because the overall race winner crossed the line right before you started your final lap. So, to my understanding, even if you two had crashed on the final lap, you would have still gotten first and second. Did that make you a little bit more wary of what Andrew was going to do?
I was unaware of that. We raced each other hard, but we respected the fact that we were teammates. I think he gave me a little bit of extra room in the second to the last corner, which if it wasn't a teammate, it probably wouldn't have been that gracious. But we raced hard. I knew he had better pace than me. I could tell in my relative that he was chasing me down, and I think one more lap and he probably would have had me. But yeah, we're both very excited for the result.
How much of a headache is it, the way the caution system pans out? You never know when those safety car periods are going to drop. Were you guys calculating strategy on the fly, or did you come in with a plan?
Well, we came in with Utopia, but we knew that wasn't going to play out. And the Utopia was, go green for the entire first stint. We expected a caution would come out either the second or third stint, but you have no idea, so you can't plan for that. I knew the caution was going to ruin some people's race, and it was probably going to make others. And we were very fortunate. We had just swapped drivers 10 laps before, so we came in under caution, filled it up, got the AM drivers' stint done and all their laps done, and that allowed me to get back in for the last 30, 35 laps. But yeah, we had spreadsheets, calculators going, a lot of calculation trying to make sure everybody was covered.
Well, it panned out great for you. Congrats on your win. Anyone you'd like to thank or anything else you'd like to say before we let you go and celebrate?
Yeah, appreciate you guys for the broadcast. Certainly appreciate Mike and the majors folks for all that they do. And I got to thank Andrew Waring and Steve Driscoll for starting up Evolve Sim Sports and our sponsors, Direct Innovations and V2R. It's great to have them by our side and a little bit of sponsor support.
All right. Well, congrats once again, and thanks for coming to talk to us. That was your winner over in GTE. And Joe, you have called up with our winners over in the GT4 class.
That includes Andrew Mickey and Zach Buchanan in the number 286. Congratulations, guys. But this was not just a dominating performance. You schooled the field 2 laps to the nearest one back. Did you at any point relax during that race because of that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we did.
We heard from the LMP2 drivers a bit there from Dallas on their perspective. What is it like for you? I mean, how much were you looking in the mirror throughout that race, just trying to anticipate when those prototypes were coming?
Pretty much constantly. The speed difference is so huge that you just can't afford to make a mistake and put yourself in the wrong spot. I felt like at times we were being almost ignored at times, which kind of sucked. But I guess with such a tight track, you can't really wait up on other cars a lot. So yeah, it was chaotic, to put it simply.
Andrew, you played the anchor on this one. Was there a reason that you two decided to put you in the final stint?
Just work schedule. I wasn't going to most likely be home for the start of it, so by the time I would have gotten home, we would have had Zach to start in the first place anyway.
Makes sense then. So just logistics in general. Well, again, congratulations, Zach. Is there anybody you two would like to thank for this victory today?
I can't think of anyone to thank per se, but I want to give a shout out to the CMS racing cars because they look to be the guys to beat today, and they were pretty unlucky. So it sucks that that's how their race ended today, or at least that's how they lost their lead. But yeah, it was nice to win, and I'm glad that we drove how we did. So
great stuff. That was Andrew Mickey and Zach Buchanan driving the number 286 today. And Sam, I believe you've caught up with second place driver in the Fitzy Motorsports 59. This is Jack Stiles.
Yeah, Jack, you got a copy?
I do indeed.
Second and third in class for your team. How are you guys feeling about that? It's not the race win, but still a good result to kick off a season.
It's a brilliant result for us to kick off the season. Something we weren't expecting, especially after qualifying. We probably chose the wrong time to do our laps in qualifying. The track was a little bit hotter than we would have liked it to have been. Everyone seemed to have gone early when the track was a bit colder and the clouds sort of lifted, and we went a bit later. But we knew it was a long race. We knew it was going to be a race of survival, especially with the traffic. And it played off. I obviously had to run 60% being the AM, and my teammate Gareth being the Platinum. We couldn't utilize him as much as I maybe would have liked to, but no, for me it was probably one of the best races since I've been on iRacing for 4.5 years, and I think Gareth, he found it quite intense with the traffic and everything going on in that final hour.
And only 19 incident points for you two drivers throughout the race, which was actually on the lower end of the spectrum we had out there. What was the trickiest part of this race? Was it anticipating when the cautions were going to fall? Was it dealing with the traffic? Or was it the fact that we had so many cars on such a tight circuit?
The cautions, to me, I wasn't really worrying too much about them. It was going to be right. Let's deal with them when they happen. The first one landed perfectly for us. We were right at the end of it would have been my second stint. So we took a slightly different strategy, which meant the second stint really helped us on that first caution as well. With that first pit stop, we were able to jump, I think it was 5 or 6 cars, and get ourselves into the lead and set ourselves myself up really well for that third stint. The second caution probably could have been a little bit later for us with that final splash and dash, but these things happen. The traffic was mental. That's probably one of the hardest things out there. If I know Gareth was streaming, and if you look at his stream, especially through my stint, it's just constantly information being thrown at the driver. You're concentrating on what's on the track, but you're also trying to listen to what your co-driver and your spotter's saying, because there's so much going on around you. You need to know what's going on, and also preempting where to get past. The GT4s, the closing speed is so big between these two classes, and it's quite hard to judge at some parts of the circuit. And getting that right was really the key to this race today.
Well, you definitely got it right with, like you say, your car coming home in second place, but also a team car in third place. Anyone you'd like to thank or anything you'd like to say before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to give a massive shout out to our sponsors, TechSense and Renvale, Demon Tweaks, Gareth, who's my teammate today. I called him in at last minute, really. Cameron Dance, who's the usual driver for this team for the rest of this season, he can't make today. So Gareth jumped in from Demon Tweaks Esports, and everyone at Demon Tweaks doing an amazing job, and also Fight Colorectal Cancer. Everyone at Fitstyle Motorsport, everyone puts a lot of effort in. This year's been incredible. We've had wins in special events. We've qualified for Neo Endurance. We're absolutely kicking it in the majors this year. Almost won the championship in international. Unfortunately, a penalty took that away from us, but we're going into 2021 really strong, and I think next year is going to be a great year for the team.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing what happens. Thanks for coming to talk to us, and congrats on your podium finish.
Thank you very much for the broadcast, guys, and good night.
It was Jack Stiles who brought the Fitzy Motorsport number 59 home in second. Similarly, second place for the GTEs, we've got Andrew Warren for the Evolve number 124 car. Andrew, you were just shy of taking a victory there for your team. I mean, is it a bit bittersweet? Glad to see the 1-2, but wishing you could be on the top spot?
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could have been first, obviously, but Spencer and Kevin did a heck of a race. They managed everything. Like, I mean, obviously, from our point of view, had a great first stint, and then it kind of just went into the bag. We got an unfortunate black flag for going into an open pits, like with everybody else on that first caution, so we had to serve that. And then we got into a bunch of accidents that weren't really our fault. It was just a big traffic jam, pretty much. So
the podium all the more impressive, of course. This was something of a wild track to start things on with such an intense grouping of classes of cars. When we head off to Phillip Island, do you think that'll be any better, or is it going to be just as bad trying to watch ahead and watch behind for the two other classes?
I think with the GT4s out there, for sure, it's gonna Phillip Island. I've never really driven it. I just know kind of it's a super fast track, but the GT4's speed to the GTEs and LMP1s is so extreme. Like I think I had three clean laps to when Austin wasn't calling out, LMP here, GT4 there, and then it was just a crapshoot really for that. It was super tough to manage the traffic. So I don't know. Imola's kind of tight. Phillip Island, I think, is pretty wide, so it might be a little bit better, but who knows? We'll see.
Hoping for the best for you. One last thing, considering how many problems you ran into this time, do you think that a win is more likely down in Australia?
As part team owner, I'm just happy with 1-2. I know Austin really wanted to get a first win in his first majors race, but Kevin and Spencer both got their first majors win. We'll see what happens. We're kind of using this as a learning kind of series for all the new guys we've just brought into the majors under Evolve. So we'll see. We really didn't even turn up today with any expectations. We just wanted to have a good time, which is exactly what we have, which is what we always do at the majors.
It's really throwing people in at the deep end for training. Then.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. I feel bad for. We brought in Broomhead, Milwayne, and Todd, and pretty much said, especially Milwayne, I was like, "Hey, I'm giving you a 23-second lead. Don't blow it." And then it's tough.
Go figure. All right. Well, again, congratulations on a podium, sir, and looking forward to talking to you more the rest of the season.
Cheers, guys. Can't wait to watch it back. Thank you.
Andrew Warren, second place for the Evolve 124 car, and I believe we are going to close it out. So we're going to thank a few people along the way, including the majors, for bringing us in for this new coverage here on a new series that we certainly are enjoying. And also thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sam, Steph, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, our social media is Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. Got a link in the description below, where while you're there, make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss a moment. The next race, as we mentioned, Phillip Island, a month from now, Saturday, December 19th at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Up next for us here on GSRC will be the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series at Southern National Motorsports Park. That kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.